Okay, welcome everyone to the May 9th meeting for the NCIP committee. Read some language here on how to participate in this meeting. Written comments. Members of the public may submit comments to engineering-admin@monterey.org until 1/2 hour before the start of the meeting. These messages are not read aloud during the meeting, but are made available to the meeting body and public at https://monterey.org/submitted-comments. So I just want to take a moment here. We've received a tremendous amount of comments from the public. People have asked us to hand those out. We do not hand out comments, so it's incumbent upon you guys, the committee members, to go to submitted-comments on the website to access those comments. Okay, just so you're aware. In person, you will be able to make comments at the podium during the allotted points in the meeting. If you're on Zoom, the meeting is available on Zoom.gov. You can join at https monterey-org.zoomgov.com, and there's the meeting ID. You can telephone in 833-568-8864. You can watch the meeting on Zoom or on youtube.com/Monterey, where there's a 10-second delay, and on Comcast channel 25 with up to a 90-second delay. Total allotted, so we do 3 minutes per speaker. We can allot up to 30 minutes per public appearance items and 30 minutes for public hearing items. The committee can allot more time as they see fit. Those are how to participate in the meeting.
Okay, which case I'll call the meeting to order. And if we can have a roll call, please.
Aguajita Oaks.
Present.
Alta Mesa.
Here.
Casanova Oak Knoll. Deer Flats.
Present.
Del Monte Beach.
Here.
Del Monte Grove, Laguna Grande.
Here.
Downtown.
Here.
Fisherman's Flats.
Here.
Glenwood.
Here.
Monterey Vista. New Monterey.
Here.
Oak Grove. Old Town.
Here.
Skyline.
Here.
Via Del Monte.
Here. I believe we have a quorum. So first item on the agenda is general public comments. This is time set aside for the public to address the NCIP on any matter that is not on tonight's agenda, but within the purview of NCIP. So if you're here to speak to any project that's from New Monterey through multi-neighborhood or Villa Del Monte or any of those, there'll be a time at each of those to speak. This part is for general public comments not on the agenda. And I believe we have someone. Who else? How many people are we looking at? Okay, 2, 3, 4. If you could just go ahead and one at a time come forward, and yeah, there'll be 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is John Sovereign. I used to be a member of this body. I'm here speaking as a citizen. My family and I moved to Monterey over 50 years ago. Since his retirement, my father has invested much time and money and energy into the civic affairs of this city. City manager's office, who's not represented here tonight, decided a few weeks ago to remove me from, after just 1 short month, to remove me from office, appointed by the city council. The slim basis for this was 1 letter returned by the post office to their office. 1 letter with no chance to find out why that happened when, yes, I have my mail forwarded right now, That's absurd, ridiculous. So you may think that this might not happen to you. Maybe you think that I'm a troublemaker. Maybe you think my opinions are not welcome. But this can happen to you. It happened to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stavern. Mr. Reeves?
Reggie's queuing up something I'd like to show you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Reeves. And I'd like to talk to you about what our city charter says with respect to the NIP. And you are the NIP committee, not the NCIP committee. So if you could please show that for us. So sort of springboarding off the unfortunate gentleman who came before me. I know you all work at the pleasure of the sovereign. And if you should cross the sovereign, you could lose your head. So I understand your position is you don't want to be rabble rousers, but I'm here to, I don't see it, Reggie. Okay. Sorry, I'm killing time here. So I know I only get my 3 minutes. Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
I'm here to voice my support for the request by the Monterey Bay Tennis Center, downtown 13, to convert some tennis courts into pickleball courts, update their lighting and fencing. I know NCIP receives numerous requests related to pickleball, and I have to admit that when I first heard the request, I was skeptical and a bit baffled by the enthusiasm of pickleball players. Then I put a paddle in my hand, and now I'm a regular player, all thanks to the Monterey Tennis Center and their supportive staff. The affordable group lessons they provided not only taught me the technical skills I needed, it provided me with a whole new community of friends to share my new healthy physical activity with. I stress the affordability because that has been an issue raised. Initially, I went to my first lesson without a paddle or balls. The beauty of a privately run but community-focused facility is the support and access to equipment, clean bathrooms, well-maintained courts, in addition to professionally certified instructors. The students in my class were all ages, came from as far as Carmel Valley, and some like me lived in the neighborhood and walked. Since I am an official downtown resident, I want to stress that even though you might think of downtown as a business district, it is very much alive with thousands of residents. Currently, in the city of Monterey, there's only one public pickleball court, and that's Via Paraiso with only 2 courts. I know it's shocking. There's a scattering of public courts in neighboring cities and several private facilities. Monterey Bay Tennis Center is a good balance between public and private courts. The public can drop into play at a marginal cost without having to commit to club membership, just like they do at the sports center. Emphasizing again that there are clean bathrooms, equipment to borrow, and certified instructors. I feel supporting the request from the Monterey Bay Tennis Center will enhance the city's commitment to creating Monterey as a blue zone community.
1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. Okay. I better read quick. Monterey Bay Tennis Center is perfectly situated to the sports center and ballpark to make that area a healthy physical activity hub. The Monterey Bay Tennis Center proximity to local hotels is also a benefit. I play regularly at the Hyatt, also run by Richie, and pickleball players book their stays at the Hyatt because of the courts. I played with guests from all over the world. Local hotels will have one more enhancement to offer their guests by having pickleball courts close to their hotels. Operating a sports facility is not cheap. You can imagine all the variables that impact their ability to run a profitable business while keeping prices complementary to the community. Like any business, they need to stay relevant to current trends and their customer base. Their requests for updated lighting, court repairs, and new fencing are necessary and reasonable upgrades to a sports facility that serves the greater Monterey community.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's it?
Yep.
Okay, well, I urge you to support the request. Thank you.
And just in case anyone's wondering, That was on the previous meeting's agenda, so since it was not on tonight's agenda, that's why it's not out of order for public comments. Okay,
Okay, here we go. So on the screen there is an excerpt from the Monterey City Charter, section 6.6, and I've highlighted the relevant sections of 6.6. So since my retirement and even, well, all my life, I've been a strident supporter of the truth and not bending the facts. I don't like what's going on internationally or within our own country in terms of how facts or alternate facts are being thrown about. You are the Neighborhood Improvement Program Committee. It says it right there under 6.6D. That is what the city charter says. You're not the Neighborhood and Community Improvement Program. You're the NIP Committee. The budget that's supposed to be in the city's budget is the NIP budget, not the NCIP budget. So I understand there's probably a move afoot within the city to try to morph the perception of what the NIP is all about. They're trying to get it to be much more to favor the general needs of the city, like fire stations and police stations. And I'm sure if left to their devices, it would extend to who knows what. Things that would traditionally be funded through the general fund, through gas tax, through other funding sources available to the city. So I think that the city should stop advertising these meetings as the NCIP committee, because it is not the NCIP committee, it is the NIP committee. And calling it anything but that is not in conformance with the city charter. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Reeves. Next. We also have some folks online, so once we finish in conference center, we'll go to the online hands that are raised. Go ahead.
My name is Greg Lehman. I'm here also regarding the Monterey Tennis Center and pickleball courts. Actually, I don't see anybody I've given tennis lessons to here, but maybe. But I've been on the peninsula since 1980. I've been involved with the tennis center off and on since Leo Kohler was there. I had the contract to run it for 6 years, and it's a valuable asset to the city. To speak to what we heard before, just this last week, I gave 2 lessons to families, one from Zurich and one from London. So it's also a place that people coming to Monterey will go, and it's deserving of being well kept and well maintained. And I think that the request for funds to upgrade the, maybe not upgrade, but to bring the facilities back up to where they're a positive aspect of the city is a valid one. And I would vote for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jill Johnson. I live in Villa Del Monte neighborhood. I submitted a proposal for the Laguna Grande Park senior exercise equipment. Any seniors in here? Okay, great. So here's a few pictures of what the vision would be that would be accessible to our senior and disabled population as well as anyone else. There's a lot of benefits to outdoor exercise, including decreased risk of virus transmission, vitamin D, which improves mentation and prevents dementia. I could go on and on. If you read my proposal, you'll probably see that I did. In addition, the CDC is recommending inclusive exercise opportunities increase and improve for local jurisdictions and municipalities. So kind of we could kill several birds with one stone if we could get in there and provide some outdoor exercise resistant equipment for our seniors. Now everyone says, well, they have it at Lake Galistero. That is body weight resistance. And most people cannot do that. I mean, I have a hand injury. I can't do any sort of dips or anything like that. It's great that some people can, but many people can't. So I am just asking for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ellen.
You go ahead and start, Reggie, or? Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Good evening, everyone. I'm Richie, and thank you for coming out tonight. I'm here to provide a solution to a public need by providing a much-needed tennis and pickleball facility for the entire community. Our proposal is a low-cost transformation of the Monterey Tennis Center into a facility that will address the immediate need of both tennis and pickleball. We intend to, 1, resurface the tennis courts, 6 tennis courts, 2, paint lines on one of the courts to accommodate 4 dedicated pickleball courts, 3, paint lines on 4 of the courts to accommodate 4 dedicated tennis courts, 4, paint dual lines for both tennis and pickleball on one of the courts to accommodate overflow of either tennis and pickleball. Using the new design, the tennis center can accommodate as many as 6 pickleball courts and 5 tennis courts. My brother, Monty, and I have been involved in the tennis center since our teens. As employees and now operators, we have strived to help the Monterey community, kids and adults stay active and connected through racket sports at an affordable price. First, we offer tennis camps throughout the year with over 300 local kids participating. Though the average daycare costs $19.20 an hour, we charge only $11 an hour. Second, our special $45 a month membership rate helps keep seniors active without a financial strain. Third, our family membership plans keep the whole family active at a low monthly rate. Affordability and sustainability are key objectives for us, and we work with the City of Monterey in establishing our membership pricing and pay-to-use fees. We provide the community with stable jobs at a fair wage. We employ as many as 16 during the summer months with starting wage at $16 an hour, employee-related expenses, workers' compensation, Social Security, and Medicare. My brother and I average $19.50 an hour. Plus, we provide the city with additional income from lease as well as sales tax revenue from the Pro Shop. We believe our low-cost solution for pickleball expansion at the Monterey Tennis Center will fulfill an immediate community need at a low cost, leaving funds for other NCIP projects. Thank you for considering this proposal, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the courts.
Thank you. Good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nagin. As you see, I'm a mom, and I'm also a law student, and I also work every day full-time. And I work in Pearl Street, live in Larkin Street, and I am in support. I do support the idea of having pickleball at Monterey Tennis Center because it's so accessible. And it's not just me. I do go to Monterey Tennis Center for playing tennis, or at some point they had pickleball, but the courts weren't, it was with tape. But still, I really support the idea because they also had a bathroom for my daughter because of course I can't find a daycare at night, but they also had really good lighting. I do support the idea because it's really needed for the community, especially it's right by downtown. It's a good place, and I'm just expressing my opinion as a mom, as a college student, and as a full-time person that lives in Monterey area. There's a lot to do in that area, and it supports community, and the employees there, they've always been kind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Michael Lang. I am a co-applicant for the Ryan Ranch Pickleball courts, but I'd like to speak about DT12, which is the downtown pickleball courts. When we began this Ryan Ranch Pickleball Odyssey in 2018, it was intended to eliminate conflicts and provide additional court capacity for a sport that was just beginning to boom. And boy, has it boomed. The most recent statistics show that 48.3 million adult Americans have played pickleball at least once in the last 12 months. That equates to nearly 5,000 Monterey players. Yet Monterey has only 2 free unrestricted public pickleball courts. That's actually 2 fewer than when we started in 2018. NCIP Project DT12 proposes to add pickleball courts to the Monterey Tennis Center and is unfortunately flawed on a couple of counts. Number one, the tennis center is a private club, and frankly, we don't need more private pickleball courts. I count 10 different private clubs with pickleball available to families at a cost of $68 a month and up. Don't get me wrong. Our private clubs have saved pickleball as the growth of publicly available pickleball courts has remained stagnant. But not everybody can afford to pay to play at private courts. The need is free, unrestricted public court capacity. Number two, this is a money grab. The tennis center operators are aware of the city manager's objection to the Rhine Ranch project, and they are trying to leverage this into free facility upgrades. For 6 years, the pickleball community has pursued a viable home for free pickleball. We've worked our way through the city process, listening and learning, and yes, sometimes our passions get the best of us, but please respect our commitment and rank our project highly. Don't allow an opportunistic money grab masquerading as a compromise sway the support you showed us with your number 3 ranking last year on Rhine Ranch 02. That being said, if the intention is to allow free unrestricted public access to new pickleball courts at the tennis center, then I'm all for DT12. But I don't think that's in the business plan for the tennis center operators. So I hope you will vote for RR01 over DT12. But that's not really the issue here. The issue is RR02 from last year. Last month, Reggie Paulding conveyed to me the following guidance from the city manager, and I quote, "In light of development around potential pickleball courts in Delray Oaks and in downtown Monterey, the city is taking a pause with the development of pickleball courts at Ryan Ranch." Wow, I wish I had another 3 minutes to dissect that. But fundamentally, if the city manager is allowed to strike down projects that don't suit his agenda, then we should all just submit our NCIP applications to him. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like the democratic foundation NCIP was built upon. Just to be clear, if pickleball courts are funded by DT12, the city manager can argue funds currently allocated, and currently, I mean last year, to the Rhine Ranch Pickleball Design Project are free to be allocated elsewhere. A vote for DT12 is a vote against NCIP. That's the issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosemary Robert. I live in Old Town neighborhood, and I would like to emphasize a real safety issue that has been fully funded but has not been done yet, and that's the Harrison Street steps. Originally, it was done by Eagle Scouts as an Eagle Scout project. So we still have the money for it. Especially with the weathering, the surface is slippery. Also, it's washed away so that the railroad ties are exposed on some corners, most corners. And it's really dangerous going up and also going down. So all for Harrison Street steps. Thank you.
Good.
Hello, good evening. I think we'd all be better off if we're out there playing pickleball right now. Beautiful evening. My name is Michael Kennedy. I'm a resident of Monterey, and I am a tennis player and a pickleball player. And I'm also an advocate for both. This is a little bit about right versus wrong, moral versus immoral. And so let me illustrate what I want to say with a story. Once upon a time, there was a round table appointed by the king to find out what the peasants desired in the local village. With the agreement that the round table's recommendations would be accepted by the king for the benefit of the citizens. So alas, after much work, the round table made recommendations, but the king didn't like some of those, so cherry picked what he liked and didn't like, and broke, therefore, his promise to the round table and also to the peasants. So the peasants, upon hearing this, were enraged, and that the king broke his promises and didn't value them nor the round table enough to keep his promises. The round table began to realize that they were kind of a pawn in a game and weren't really getting the respect they deserved as a group. So I think you can see the analogy I'm pointing out about what happened with Ryan Ranch. And I know there's two other projects that have been challenged or going to be challenged by the city manager. City manager here obviously is the king. There are two committees. You're one of the committees, roundtables. The other one's the city council. So I think this is about right versus wrong. The city has its budget for its needs. The NCIP has its budget for its wants. To rob one for the other, I think is immoral. I think it's wrong. I think it must be a slap in the face to everybody that's here. You're working to help implement what citizens want. And to have that taken away from you, I would think would be deflating your balloon. I live in Alta Mesa. I've seen ads and people have asked me, you should run for one of the seats on NCIP. Why would I do that if the recommendations are going to be ignored? What motivates me to do that? Nothing. So I see where you are. I'm not blaming you, obviously. You voted for the projects. The city council voted for the projects. The city manager is coming back. And, well, the future's to be seen what happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jay Swagerman. I live up the hill here and not too far away. I'd like to talk about a couple of things. I've played pickleball from here to Santa Barbara, okay? And I'd like to tell you their cost. So, and this is the cost to play. So Santa Maria, small town, never been to, but they recently in the last 2-3 years built a new complex of 6 courts. And on their website, the cost to play per day is $3. If you want to play for a month, it's $10. For the year, it's $100 if you pay ahead. So it's much cheaper. Okay. The other courts I've been at, Paso Robles, same thing in that they shut down for a couple months in the summer when it's hot, but the normal rate is $10 per month. Okay. And the play, like when we're there, it's like $3 or $4. Okay. And the other place I played a lot of times is Cambria. They have 6 courts individually fenced and individually gated, and they're really good courts. And the play there is $3 for a stranger. So, and if I play in the afternoon, it's free. Okay. But in the morning, and they want, and it's not a, they say it, the cost, no, it's a donation. So just, did you donate? They're just trying to get you to do that, okay? So tournaments happen. Richie's going to tie up the courts in Monterey and at the Hyatt. And one of the things you should be aware of, the Hyatt has a court, 2 courts with light poles in it. That's a safety issue. We definitely don't want any of that in Monterey, where it's a safety issue, where right where you play, you're going to run into poles. Okay. And the other thing is, when he has a tournament, and I know he wants to do this a lot, he'll shut down pickleball for the average person for a week. So you got to think of that too. And so I think we need our own courts for Monterey, and Monterey's supplying the courts so you can be proud of them, not that you have issues. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Lang, and I'm going to talk about pickleball. I'm sure you've not heard about that at all tonight. I'm going to make it short. I just feel that the big thing I want to stress is free. You know, I really think, like the gentleman said before me, that we need to have a free place to play. We have tons of places that cost, even if it's $40, that's a lot for a person that's on a budget for a month. So I really think we need a public court. We need somewhere you can just go and play for free. We do free clinics, my husband and I, I think it's really important to pass along how fun the sport is, but to not have people pay for it. So if Richie wants to do this, I think it should be free at the Monterey. I think it's a great place, but make it free. I also think parking can be a very big problem in Monterey. No one's brought that up, but it's per pay and there aren't a lot of spots. So that has to be considered if you make it what he's doing or if you make it free there, which I think is what we should do. I really believe that the biggest thing is that we need more free public ones. I go all over the place too. I go to down south, I go up north, and I find so many free places to play. And I'm so disappointed that we don't have that here in a place that's a resort environment that people come. I bring my paddle wherever I go. I go up to Oregon, I'll go on playtime schedule, and I find all these free places that I don't have to pay. Why doesn't Monterey have that? You know, so we have whale watching, we have, going scuba diving. We want people to come here, and yet pickleball is fastest growing sport in America. Why don't we offer it for free here? So that's what I really think you need to think about, parking and having it free. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Keith Marshall online, if you can unmute him. Go ahead, Mr. Marshall.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak regarding Laguna Grande and the fabulous resource we have there and how much I enjoy it personally. I'm a senior. My wife is a senior. Most of our friends are seniors. And often we are at the park. We really, really love the lawn area. We love the soccer area. The kids have a great area to play. And there's that wonderful trail that goes around it. I really appreciate the landscaping that's been going on there. And I hear that there is a possibility that we can get some senior equipment in there. I think that seniors are the #1 growing population in the United States. And certainly we see that here in Monterey. And to have those senior equipment that we can exercise on as we're out there in the sunshine and at that park would be a fabulous addition. We've put playground equipment in for the kids. For the students and others in the community, we also have the soccer field. We've got volleyball. We've got picnic tables. And we have seniors by the droves walking that trail. And signs have now come up about children. Talk to your children about the birds and etc. Let's get some senior equipment in there. Let's keep our senior population as healthy as we can. We are as strong as our weakest link. Let's make sure that our seniors get an opportunity to exercise out in the air, the fresh air, and not in a building. We can all go and pay our dues and get into a building and do some exercise, but let's get outside and let's breathe in the air and take in that fabulous Laguna Grande Park. It is a wonderful opportunity. We have a chance to do it. Let's pull out all the stops and let's make that happen. Let's support seniors, support senior health, support our community, and let's make that park all it can be. And that's my comment. So I was also able to write this comment and appreciated getting the response that you've seen it and that it's available for others to read. Seniors have supported, have built this America of ours. The Industrial Revolution came from the senior group, from our parents, and now we're here supporting this community. My wife was born and raised here along with her 7 siblings. And it's just a fabulous opportunity to say yes to seniors and give back what we have given to the community. Thank you all very much for taking the time to hear me out.
Thank you. Okay, also online, Dorit. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I totally and completely agree with Keith. Thank you very much. I'm partially disabled and approaching senior citizen myself, and I really, really enjoy walking around Laguna Grande Park. And my husband and I could definitely enjoy the senior equipment maybe not this, yeah, senior equipment. And that would really, if you could really, really support the seniors by doing that, that would be a wonderful thing. And please do so. Thank you very much. And that's all.
Thank you. Also online, EM or M. We could unmute. Okay.
There we are. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, your unmute button didn't come up. So this is Esther Malkin. I really like the theme of the evening being health. It's really, regardless of how it all turns out, it's good that we're all being really focused on health. I wanted to make a couple of points before I get to the Laguna Grande part of this. I don't know how much other people that are commenting tonight or watching are familiar with what's going on with our budget for the city and what's involved in some of these requests from the city. But I just want to remind people that what is happening now with the city having to come to NCIP to ask for money for infrastructure is because the previous administrations did not put money aside for these infrastructures maintenance. And it is not this committee's fault or the current council. The previous councils just put up community centers, put up sports center, and they didn't put money aside. So that puts us in a position now that we're gonna have to decide on what's nice to have and what we need to have because of their lack of foresight. So on to another project that kind of was thrown sideways. I just want to comment on the bathroom study that was nixed by the city manager. I firmly believe that we need to, at the very least, put up a screen of some kind to at least make the bathrooms at Del Monte Beach less unattractive. Until we can figure out whether there's a study or whether they're going to be finished. It just needs to look a little better than it does. And lastly, I'll get to my project. Jill Johnson, who spoke before, happens to be a geriatric senior physical therapist. And I partnered with her on the senior equipment for Laguna Grande Park because she has a lot of experience and insight to this. So obviously, I'm asking for the support. I just want to point out to the committee members, if they didn't get a chance to see the latest letter of support that came in today from the United Way. So in addition to the Blue Zone project that, has already come out and supported us, we have the United Way chiming in as well about the benefits of doing this project. So it is the only project that our neighborhood is requesting this cycle. And we would really appreciate it, as well as the Villa Del Monte neighborhood and the Kona residents, to be able to have this equipment here to hopefully improve the health of all our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Okay, Tammy Jennings.
Hi, hi, this is Tammy Jennings. I'm speaking as a resident of Monterey and as a disabled senior. I think that the equipment that is hopefully will be going into Laguna Grande is necessary, and there aren't very many places that a disabled person can go, even if they want to use some kind of equipment somewhere. There's normally sand. If you're in a wheelchair, you can't get to it. And so if this equipment is going to be for the disabled as well as seniors, I can't say enough that it needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a gentleman who was patiently waiting. Are you still wanting to speak? Come on up.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Hassan Bouzor, and I live in Old Town. Regarding the debate between the two pickleball options, Of course, budgets are limited, but for people who don't have a vehicle, Ryan Ranch is pretty far and not really accessible. So just wanted to throw that in. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And I think this will be our last public comment of the evening.
Hi, my name is Donna Bomarito, and I own property in the city of Monterey. In fact, I bought it from Tom Raleigh more than 20 years ago. But I would, I just found out about some of this stuff, and so I'm just kind of wondering how the city, I mean, people have to pay $45 a month to play in downtown Monterey. You can go a lot of places and pay that kind of money. So if you can make it at all where the people can come and use the courts and make more courts available to all of us pickleball players, there's so many people playing, there's so much goodwill, there's so much camaraderie, and it's so good for everyone that I would like, I wouldn't want you to spend money there and not on another project that we could use for more people to be able to play without a cost. I appreciate your help in making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And I fibbed, I have one more hand snuck up online. That will be the last one. If you can unmute Robert Yoha. Go ahead, Mr. Yoha.
Okay, I just unmuted my speaker. You should be able to hear me now. I would just like to talk briefly about the Casanova Oak Knoll projects for the sidewalk infill completion. I grew up in our neighborhood when there were no sidewalks. And because of the NIP, we have sidewalks throughout our entire neighborhood, but there are 4 small sections that are missing. There are infill projects on Casanova, Ramona, and Melway Circle. And if you fund those, we'll complete the sidewalks in our neighborhood that we started in 1990. It's been almost 45 years since we started building the sidewalks. And this is our opportunity to finish them. Another project we have is to replace the radar speed signs on Airport Boulevard. We already have the posts installed, we have the foundations. We just have to put new signs back up. The old ones reach their lifespan. And the other project that's very, very important is to complete the gap between our bike trail on Fremont Street and to connect it with Fortag out with the Delray Oaks bike trail and to get us out to the rest of the Monterey Peninsula. So please, if you would, please support completing our sidewalks in the Casanova Oak Knoll neighborhood and completing our bike lane so we connect to the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close the public comment section. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for the April 25th meeting. Does anyone have any questions, comments, changes?
I'll move approval.
We have a motion for approval by Fisherman's Flats, second by Bill Dalmani. Roll call, please.
Aguijita Oaks.
Approve.
Alta Mesa.
Aye.
Casanova Oak Knoll.
Yes, I've been present. Zoom crashed on me at roll call,
Thank you.
but yay.
Deer Flats.
I was absent, so I'll abstain.
Del Monte Beach.
Aye.
Del Monte Grove, Laguna Grande.
Aye.
Downtown.
Aye.
Fisherman's Flats.
Aye.
Glenwood.
Aye.
Monterey Vista. New Monterey.
Aye.
Oak Grove. Old Town.
Aye.
Skyline.
Aye.
Via Del Monte.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next agenda items, information reports and staff comments. Reggie? Or are we going to just go straight into review of the second review?
Yes. I have it here. Give me 1 second. Okay, yes, we're going to go through the second half of the neighborhood projects tonight. And just again, for a little overview of the projects. At the beginning of the cycle, we had 69 some new submittals. We had 31 returning for a total of 100. As of this evening, we have 90 projects moving forward. Some projects have been withdrawn, some have been combined. Currently, we're at a cost estimate of 22.5 million. Last year, for reference, there was $20 million in project cost estimates. And voting night will be the next meeting. So we reviewed, well, actually, we reviewed 50 projects last time, but one of those has now been combined. So we're down to 49 in the first half. And we'll be talking about roughly 41 projects this evening, 15 in New Monterey, 13 in the multi-neighborhood category, 5 in Villa Del Monte, 3 in Old Town, 3 in Skyline, and 2 in Ryan Ranch. So to start with the 15 in New Monterey.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me just make sure the public understand. The way this is going to work is we're going to go neighborhood by neighborhood. Staff is going to do a quick presentation of the projects. Then we're going to open public hearing for anyone in the public who wants to address any of the project in that specific neighborhood. Once they're done, we close the public hearing, then it'll come to the commission for questions or comments before we then move on to the next neighborhood. So take it away, Reggie.
Okay. The first project is drainage improvements along the 600 block of Lobo Street. And as we said previously, the other side of the block has already been completed. Estimate of $100,000. All right, New Monterey 02 is the new project. New Monterey 15 was a returning project, so combined together to acquire the open space at David Avenue across from Hilltop Park. The nominator believes that this would be a $50,000 cost. For legal expenses mostly. And then we have New Monterey 03, David Avenue, Terry Street improvements, including a crosswalk. And it has included other construction, including bulb outs and islands or an island for $100,000. Redoing or updating the New Monterey neighborhood plan was last, if it's the original or last update was in 1991. So to do that, roughly $200,000. All right, New Monterey 07, sidewalk at Linden Street between Withers Avenue and Irving Avenue. So there's, as I said before, at 500 linear feet of sidewalk, $200 per linear foot. It's a rough estimate of $100,000. However, this section of sidewalk may be in conflict with the neighborhood plan. So that would be something that if it is determined to be in conflict, then the project would not be able to go forward. And Hilltop, okay, so for Hilltop, there are 2 independent separate proposals, just to be clear. New Monterey 08 was presented or proposed by the city with multiple improvements of the facility. And, it's including roofing, windows, heating, HVAC systems, $2 million. New Monterey 09 replaced turf at Trinity Christian School. Now, this is an NPUSD property. However, we would have to confirm existing agreements, and if agreements to allow public access are not satisfactory and or in place, then new agreements would have to be in place before we would do the work. Estimate of $250,000. New Monterey 10, Schulte Park Design and Renovation submitted by the city to design and improve the area, the outdoor space specifically, $500,000. Cannery Row, pedestrian improvements and traffic calming, New Monterey 11, estimate of $250,000. This proposal included things like removing parking on one side of Cannery Row, making Cannery Row one-way, and allowing making it more pedestrian friendly. New Monterey 12, this project was submitted by the New Monterey Neighborhood Association. It's since been revised since the original proposal, which I provided the committee with copies of the revised proposal earlier today. They envision the project incurring in phases, with this being phase one, with the request of between $200,000 and $300,000, starting with seismic survey of the facility. That would be their first part of the project, and then going to roofing and solar. New Monterey 14, Cypress Park tennis court resurfacing. This court it has some pretty tree roots have popped up certain sections of the court. To resurface, estimate $15,000. Cannery Row public restroom design. This is a returning project from 2018. Cost estimate $150,000. New Monterey 17. This is the Lower Presidio Walkway, phase 2. So this project was originally proposed back in 2004. And so what it would do is complete a section of DG walkway that is currently in the Lower Presidio. And one section here would connect the crosswalk at Private Bolio and wrap around, say maybe following this curb line and then coming through over here and coming out at Artillery on the other side of Lower Presidio. At 390 feet of sidewalk, roughly $200 per linear foot, $78,000 project. Right, New Monterey 18, Cannery Row worker housing. Again, this is a returning project from 2015. The worker housing, the buildings are in need of some upkeep, maintenance, repair, deal with wood rot, paint, shingles on the roofs, those sorts of things. Estimate of $60,000. And that's the projects in New Monterey.
Okay, now we'll open it up to the public. Any member of the public who wants to address any of the New Monterey projects, please come forward or raise your hand online.
Hello, Tom Reeves, speaking as president of the New Monterey Neighborhood Association. I'd like to highlight our priorities of the projects that Reggie just went through. Hilltop Park Center, that is NM12, as Reggie noted, NM12 is separate from NM8. We decided to make that into a multi-phase program to look at the big issue, which is really the seismic strength of the building. So to determine what's needed, if anything, in that realm, and then also to come up with a much clearer budget estimate moving forward, because I understand, I've been here before, and at this stage in the game, you're really kind of winging some estimates based on dollars per square foot. So we'd like to get a sharper pencil and get a better estimate for what that will require. Another project we're highly interested in is the neighborhood plan update. As I've spoken to you before, the neighborhood plan is the cornerstone of development within the neighborhood. So our plan is 33 years old, and much has changed in that 33 years. So it's in desperate need of needing to be updated. That would be NM4, I believe, yes, NM4 or 58 on your list, I think. And then our other priorities would be David Terry Crosswalk. That's a safety issue. If you're crossing David at Terry, there's a vertical curve on David Avenue that you can't see over. So it's kind of a dangerous spot to cross David Avenue. And that's NM3. And the 600 Lobos drain line improvements, which is NM1. And the worker checks, which is, sorry.
18.
I got one. one hand available here, sorry. 18 is our other priority. So if you have any questions for me about those priorities and why we decided to do what we did, I think Hilltop Center, you've heard a lot about it. Well, that's a very important center, and it's important for a number of reasons. It's not just our rallying point, but it's also probably the most cost-efficient neighborhood center within the city. With just 2 staff members, they can oversee multiple activities within that building, and they oftentimes do. They might have a tot class, they might have a seniors Pilates class going on, they can have a pottery class going on. All those can occur within that same building with the same number of staff. Whereas in other neighborhood centers, they have to do it in a serial fashion, one after the other, because they aren't large enough. Plus, Hilltop can be an emergency evacuation center. As we all learned when when Lighthouse Avenue was backed up, we couldn't get in and out of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Good, yeah.
Hi, I'm Ellen McEwen, and I'm speaking on behalf of Parks and Rec. I'm a commissioner. And I'd like to talk about the improvements at the Hilltop Park Center. So this would be in favor of NM08 and NM12. As you may remember, Hilltop Center was originally an elementary school. It was transferred to Parks and Rec in 1985. At that time, the bare minimum was done to accommodate its new role as a recreation center. There's been no significant investment in it since 1985. That's a long time. You can see it really shows it. It's become worn, grungy, and honestly, it looks neglected. Nonetheless, it is our most highly utilized site. And as the speaker before said, it's very efficient in its use of personnel with limiting payroll costs for the maximum benefit of all of the community. It serves toddlers, kids in school, adults with and active retirees with after-school programs, dance, exercise, music, pottery for the enrichment and education. Plus it also provides for social interactions. So we are not asking for anything as deluxe as the conference center. We just need it to not fall apart and provide basic functional improvements so that it's clean, welcoming, so it's a clean and welcoming environment that serves our community. And I'd also like to put in a little pitch for the Schulze Center. You know, it does provide our less mobiles and less physically active senior citizens with a really great social and resource. I'm sorry? Okay. What we envision is something a little bit like Friendly Plaza on the backside of the Schulze Center. So there we go. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Roberta Myers. I live on Terry Street in New Monterey. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about the NIP or NCIP projects. New Monterey has several worthwhile NCIP proposals, but I want to focus on just 2. NM04, funding for the area plan update, and NM12, evaluation of Hilltop Community Center's physical and seismic condition, because they both ask for relatively modest funds for assessment, so critical in wise long-term planning. New Monterey is the most populous Monterey neighborhood, and it was developed over time so that some of it is well developed. And it has also sizable undeveloped areas. No sidewalks in lots of New Monterey. Both the world and the environment have changed in the more than 40 years since the new Monterey Area Plan was formulated. We need to know what direction our population, approximately 17% of Monterey residents, want and need for the future. Exits have closed so that our area could be be an isolated island in a natural disaster. Recent disruption caused by the necessary resurfacing of Lighthouse has shown us how deficient our exit strategy is. Could Hilltop be the needed shelter in an emergency? Hilltop Park Center was one of 2 active public schools 40 years ago. Now it is a vibrant community center with a large inside and outside space, which could be a shelter after a fire or an earthquake. NM12 asks for funding to provide assessment and analysis of Hilltop's building and seismic condition, and a program to address its needs to assure its use by the community for all its varied activities and in case of emergencies. The city has proposed investment in repairs to Hilltop. That's 08. But it seems to me that a modest investment telling us if this expense is really worthwhile is wiser than stopgap repairs. I urge you to support NM04, giving a path to an updated new Monterey Area Plan, and NM12, providing necessary information of the potential for Hilltop Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
My name is Bob Evans, and I also live in New Monterey. And I'm here to support and urge you to support New Monterey 12, the renovation of Hilltop Center. Hilltop Center is a jewel in the crown of New Monterey and is a very valuable asset for the neighborhood and the city. It is a park with play equipment for toddlers and older kids, barbecue and picnic area, and a large play area that's big enough to land a chopper in, which has actually happened in case of emergencies. Inside, it has large meeting rooms, as others have said, and a multitude of various activities, all run by just 2 staff members. Furthermore, when the big shaker hits and the tunnel floods and the bridge over 68 drops, we will be an island. And it's not just New Monterey, it's parts of Pebble Beach and all of Pacific Grove. So the question is, where is everybody going to go if their houses have been damaged? So as you've heard already, Hilltop was constructed in 1979 and opened as an elementary school in 1980 and was closed officially in 1989, although the neighborhood knew that the school district was thinking about selling the property to a developer, and the neighborhood put together a petition and lobbied the city council. And so the city purchased the land and it became the Hilltop Center. Hilltop came through the 1989 earthquake with flying colors. But before we spend a lot of money on significant renovations, NM12 proposes a seismic review and then a phased program of renovation and improvement. Today, they have portable generators that they keep the place alive with, where in fact, if we had a new roof and solar and a battery, we'd have plenty of juice to keep the place running. CERT also has a box there, and we have a radio room, and our antenna there is high enough so that it will cover Pebble Beach and Pacific Grove as well as New Monterey, so we can relay information to the EOC downtown. So I encourage you to take a look at New Monterey 12. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Bob Follis. I'm a resident of Oak Grove and also I'm developing the property on Cannery Row. We look very favorable to that. We have our court hearing on the 28th, so that'll make a big change to that area down there. I want to say that the Hilltop facility is obviously in decay and there could be some great things done with that. I think as you look at it, you should look above and beyond its current uses to other things, how the community might better use it. Put electronics in, computers, things like that that are good for an emergency, but also for training. A room for yogas. Right now, it just feels like it's an old school when you walk in there, which is bad in some of us for memories of high school or junior high. The solar and batteries is a no-brainer for that. As a emergency center, it would be awesome for that. The new Monterey plan, I'm just amazed when I came into town to see how old it was. And here I've been 8 years in the community working this project. And obviously there needs to be an update from that 1991 date of the new Monterey plan. We obviously, as we build this project out, it would probably be about a year if we should win this, which looks pretty solid. We should with the Coastal Commission lawsuit we have against them. We're probably looking at a 1 year to design, 1 year to build, and I put a 1 year slop in there. So in 3 years, we could fully be built out. In case some of you forget, that'll be 100,000 square feet of retail, which is about 30 shops, 4 or 5 restaurants, a museum for the city, a big park for the city, and 51 condos. And we've got real good tenants already sort of lining up and to get in place there, but that will have a big impact on the area. And I really wonder the need of going one way. I've looked at some studies in the past and I was worried about one way on Cannery Row. How does it affect the other streets? I'm worried about some of that congestion. The main problem with Cannery Row seems to be the trucks that do delivery. We need to be more diligent on that because they park in the middle and then you've got congestion going on. I don't see plans that they're going to wide sidewalks with seating and patios and all that. And that might be the only reason to do it. But then you're losing a lane of highway to do anything exciting as that. And of course, we really need to keep the history of that area improved. I'm going to rebuild the Stohans building historically, have that as a historical museum. But it's very important, those shacks. I think we should even try to make the worker shacks a little more exciting and a little more interactive for the community so they can understand that. But I appreciate the work you guys do. And that's some of my input. Thank you now.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Deanne Brady online. We can unmute her. Go ahead, Ms. Brady.
You might have to press *6 on your phone if you're on the phone.
Well, we'll come back to Ms. Brady. Let's go to Barry Riddock. Go ahead, Mr. Riddock.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Longtime resident, longtime business owner, first time caller tonight, so I'm enjoying this. I've never played pickleball and I'm starting to think about it. For Reggie on New Monterey 11, just wanted to say as a Cannery Row business owner, I'm not sure that we're ready to have a meaningful discussion about what it means to change the traffic patterns down there. I think that would require a lot more study. And I agree with Bob that the service trucks are a bigger issue than anything right now. So we should probably, if we could, wait and hold on that for future events. NM16 and NM18, I think both are equally important. We've seen a steady increase in visitors since the pandemic has ended. We do, however, lack the basic facilities to support this increase in trash, public safety, as well as restroom facilities. There truly are only one set of restroom facilities that are available by the city. That's at the parking garage. So I think that this is a great opportunity to create a clear pathway for those visitors to find public facilities and not constantly try to use the private restrooms in some of the businesses or some of the other buildings that are down there. And I think as you look at just overall safety, doing the improvements on NM 18, I'd like to back up what Tom was proposing in terms of supporting the neighborhood association, getting those into a safer state, creating something that we can be proud of to display as part of the history of the Cannery Row would be important to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll see if Deanne Brady, if we can get her. It looks like unmuted. Go ahead, Deanne. Well, okay, let's go. We'll come back again. Joanne, go to Joanne Christ. Go ahead, Ms. Christ.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm speaking tonight. My husband and I have owned homes in New Monterey for 30 years. In New Monterey, we have 2 operating community centers located within the area defined by the city as New Monterey. Both the Schulze Center and the Hilltop Park Center are available to and utilized by residents from throughout the city. Of the 2, Hilltop Park is the more flexible and larger facility, as multiple events may be held at one time with no incremental personnel costs. Rehabilitation of Hilltop Park Center is the purpose of 2 proposals. NM8 is a $2 million proposal prepared by the city's engineers and city managers' offices. NM12 is a $200,000 to $300,000 proposal submitted by Tom Reeves, former city engineer, on behalf of the New Monterey Neighborhood Association, of which Tom is president. There are 3 fundamental differences between the 2 proposals: the timing of work, the nature of the quote improvements or rehabilitation, end quote, and the starting point from which work will commence. In my opinion, the most critical difference is that NM12 begins with the seismic assessment of the Hilltop Park Center. This step is not contemplated by the city's NM8 proposal. Lack of a seismic assessment results in the potential expenditure of $2 million or more on a building which may not be structurally safe. The foundation of any structure is the most important part. It forms the base for any building. If the foundation of a structure cannot withstand an earthquake, which is a common occurrence in California, why make cosmetic improvements? It is critical that the safety of Hilltop Park Center, a gathering place and potentially a shelter for displaced persons in the event of a natural disaster, be assessed before any rehabilitation is done. Furthermore, NM8 proposes a generator be installed but no solar panels. We would contend that in the event of a power outage, without solar panels and a battery, NM8's generator would be run off natural gas or propane. These fuels are both inconsistent with the city's mission of being green. NM12 calls for the design of a solar panel and battery backup system that could store sufficient power to maintain the operation of Hilltop Park Center for 3 days. This is clearly the greener option. Lastly, we have no detailed timeframe or budget for NM8, other than that this project is on the list for fiscal 2025. We do know that NM12 may be a multi-year and will be a multi-step process, but which results in a safer and greener result. I strongly believe that it is the NMMA's NM12 proposal and ask that you support this project so that we may properly restore a city treasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Richie, looks like we have maybe Deanne with a second method online. So if we can unmute the one that just says Deanne versus Deanne Brady, and let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you.
Yay, thank you. Okay, good evening. Sorry about my technical difficulties. My name is Deanne Brady, and I'm co-chair of Cannery Row Business Association. And I'm here to advocate for 2 projects for New Monterey, the first being the restroom design on Cannery Row, which is NM16. We support a citywide restroom study, although by tonight's speaker earlier, it's unclear if that's still on the table. So regardless of that, we really are in dire need of more public restrooms on Cannery Row. I've been working on Cannery Row for over 34 years, and it's gotten to the point, which is a good thing for all of us and the city, that tourism has gotten to be so strong. But the downside is that I wait sometimes up to 10 minutes just to get into a public restroom on Cannery Row. So we really do encourage this project to move forward so we can get another public restroom on top of the probably 12 more we need. The second project that I'm here to support is NM 18, which is the Cannery Row Worker Shacks restoration. These are a very important piece of not only Cannery Row's history, but the city of Monterey as well. And the project would not only allow for a much needed refresh of the shacks themselves, but to make it safer with the new and better handrails for public access. We really would appreciate a refresh on those, since they're one of the last original artifacts of Cannery Row that are still standing. So we would appreciate the funding to go towards that. Thank you very much for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you. Hey, don't see anyone else online. No one else is rushing to the microphone here. I'll close the public hearing and bring it to the commission for questions, comments. Janera, do you have anything you want to chime in on?
Yeah, so what I would like to do is just be a little bit more clear in terms of priorities. And so I can give kind of a numbered priority list, may be helpful. So priority number one would be New Monterey 12. So that would be the Hilltop rehab that was submitted by the Neighborhood Association. And I think everyone did a really great job speaking on the differences between this project and NM 08. Priority number two would be the New Monterey Neighborhood Plan update. Priority number three would be the David and Terry Crosswalk due to, sorry, numbers.
NM 03.
Sorry. So number two would be NM 04. And then number three would be NM 03. And then fourth priority would be NM 01, so the Lobos drainage line. And then the fifth priority would be the NM 18, the Cannery Row worker shacks. So these would be considered the top priorities in terms of what we would like to see funded. In regards to the projects related to the business district, there is a general sense that we want NCIP funds to go more towards residential safety and residential neighborhoods as opposed to the business district. So those wouldn't be considered supported by the neighborhood association. So those would be our top five. And then I did also want to just point out those top five roughly would come to about 770,000 versus just the New Monterey 08, which would be 2 million. So I feel like we can get a lot done for a lot less, focusing on the priorities that I just listed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the commission have any questions? Dave?
What did you say your number one was?
New Monterey 12.
Jamie?
Two questions. Number one, on NM 17, we're putting in concrete that's going to connect to the DG. If we,
The proposal is all DG. You talking about for the Lower Presidio walkway?
Right.
Correct. It would be all DG.
But your cost per linear foot.
Oh, I'm
same
sorry.
For concrete and.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this instance,
They're pretty close,
this
right?
project is complex because, as I understand it, we won't be able to do any digging on the property because of the archaeological concerns. So as it was explained to me, what was done previously is we laid down some kind of fabric material and then built up from there. So, I mean,
It's an estimate, has nothing to do with the fact that that's what you use for concrete.
Correct.
Okay.
okay, cool. Question number two. I understand One thing that's important that I've always looked at all of my time here is that tourism is what brings the money in that allows the neighborhoods to spend. The neighborhoods are spending money to offset the impact of tourism. So it's a healthy ecosystem, I guess. And so I do like things like helping Cannery Road to be a nicer place to be visited. But the question I would ask is, we just did the estimate of the Portland Loo. It was $200,000 for all the concrete and the plumbing and $400 to drop the Portland Loo in, and then you're done. So 150 just to study what the bathroom might look like seems a lot longer process than just putting a Portland Loo in. I don't know if Richard's online to comment on that, but just something that I'm wondering if the submitter would think about that, which is a lot faster. We're already using them in the city.
Challenge is we don't have a location. That part of the study is to determine where to do it.
Thank you.
Any other commission member? Not? Okay, well, oh, go ahead.
No, just one question. I understand the distinction between NM08 and NM12, but I don't necessarily see them as mutually exclusive. And I'm curious, if you could speak to that idea on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think both projects want the same thing, which is to rehab the building. I think the differences that were pointed out were how to do that and what steps to take in order to achieve that. So we're doing that in the most cost-effective way. So phasing it out and first studying whether this building is structurally sound, so that if we are investing $2 million, we want to make sure that that building's going to stay there if there's an earthquake or something happens, versus just kind of putting all the money in there and not really knowing what that money is being accounted for. So just having a better plan in terms of phasing it out and taking specific steps towards that larger goal, which I think both projects, that larger goal is to rehab that building.
I've always been impressed when I visit the Hilltop Center, but I can't help but ask, what percentage of the building is actually being used for activities? You know, it used to be an elementary school, but how much of it is used now? Or do we know?
I was looking to see if we still have our Parks and Rec commissioner out there. Or we do have a.
Karen's here.
Yeah, Karen.
Oh.
And you thought you were going to get away without having to come talk to us.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer your question. I won't be able to explain maybe the exact percentage of the facility, but I have to say it's every building, all of the building is being used. Upstairs is primarily preschool, as well as multi-use rooms for meetings and other events, as well as after school, special out of school programs like Christmas break, spring break, those types of things. There's a main room and then an outdoor section that's used for that. Downstairs is a very unique and special and highly utilized ceramics studio. So that is a program that continues to grow. We have fantastic instructors that help us with that. We also have the basketball courts and tennis that are used at that site as well. And the playground is used quite a bit between the preschool as well as the neighborhood children, as well as our out of school time and summer programs. That give us a good, am I missing anything from our commissioners? Anything I'm missing? Okay.
In other words, whole lot of the building.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we also have monthly blood drives. So those are held upstairs in the multi-purpose rooms as well. So we're also a premier provider in partnership with American Red Cross because we collect so many pints of blood.
They were there when I did my walkthrough.
Yeah.
Question for
Yeah.
Is there any kind of a room for a pickleball court? And there's another court that's being asked to be resurfaced. They don't mention pickleball.
We've been asked that, but it is smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood. And after what we've been through at Via Paraiso, we don't recommend that.
There's a slight noise situation with pickleball.
If it's free, hey,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
If you get all the neighbors to vote for that and everyone buy in, That might,
Well, there's another court here too.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other
Cypress
members?
Park.
Yeah, my hands raised.
We've already closed the public hearing portion. Hi, speaking to a person who's trying to speak from the audience.
This is Richard Russell is trying to speak.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yes, I have a couple questions on new Monterey projects. First one is 12, and I'm very grateful for the detailed presentation on 12. My question is, of course, seismic has to be done first, but structural along with it and termite. My main question is, the price given is a range. In 30 days, we vote, but we vote on a specific price for that project. So is it 200? Is it 300? I don't know what these analysis cost, but we need a specific price, not a range. The other project is NM4, the neighborhood plan. If Reggie could tell me if the city staff can handle that now. I just want to know that if we pass the money, it's approved. Can it be done? I'm not sure. I know the one we did way back when took an entire year and quite a bit of staff members. But the question is, can this be done in a reasonable amount of time? And the last one is 16, the restroom. Yes, Portland loos are much cheaper. They're also anti-crime and they're easier maintenance. I don't know how that'll fit there, but that was supposed to be part of a restroom study to know where to put it, what type to put, what type of construction, and control the cost. So now that we don't have the study, I don't know if we put money in the design, what's going to happen? Will it even be done? We definitely need that restroom study, which tells us demand, tells us location, tells us the number of fixtures we need. Without that, we're basically would be passing projects and just the money would be banked and it wouldn't get done. Those are my comments on those projects. Thank you.
Reggie, can you answer his question regarding the plan
The
update?
planning, currently, and I think we would stick to that. I mean, we're contracting planning documents out. So, I mean, I don't think it would take a lot of staff time.
Okay. All right. Any other member of the commission with questions or anything? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the next neighborhood, which would be Old Town. Or Oak Grove has no project.
Oak
so
Grove
we
has no
move on to
project.
Old Town.
Correct. Oak Grove has no nominated projects. We have 3 nominated projects in Old Town. All right, Old Town 01 was one of you heard already addressed earlier this evening. New decomposed granite steps, sidewalk maintenance at Harrison Street Veterans Drive, the staircase that goes from Harrison Street down to Veterans Drive. This is an existing project. Old Town 02 is a return, accessible park desktop study, an estimate for 10,000. And then Old Town 03 is another returning project, the Monterey Police Department Honor Garden. So those are the Old Town projects.
So I guess the lady who spoke in public comments on Harrison Street would have been on
Oh,
project.
yeah, we
100.
probably, yeah, that's
Okay.
my
well,
fault.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, but go ahead and open the public hearing for Old Town projects. Anyone who wishes to speak on any of the Old Town projects, please come forward or raise your hand online.
Hi, this is Nancy Souley. I live in Old Town. Are we just speaking on the sidewalk steps but the accessible park you also have on your agenda there, correct?
Right. You can
That-
speak on any of those.
Okay. When this was submitted, we did not have access to Larkin Park, which is in the neighborhood. And it's part of the Bayview School property. Since that time, PK Diffenbaugh, the superintendent, helped work with our neighborhood rep, Sue Ricketson, and at that time, April Harrison, and allowed us and put in at the Monterey High Schools, or the MPUSD expense, the fence that was needed so that we now have access to the playground part of it. And then after school hours, we have access to the playgrounds. So it does not seem that, Sue, would you comment on that too? It does not seem that that would be necessary.
No, in fact, I thought this was going to be withdrawn for that reason,
Oh.
that the need's been addressed. And also the next one, which is the Honor Garden at the Police Department. That one, and we spoke to the submitter, is pending the remodel or the replacement of the existing fire station and will be addressed at that time. So our number one project are those Harrison Street steps. And there's a long history on those steps. I look back, they were first proposed in 2014, completed by the Eagle Scouts, not up to code. We were told at that time they would be redone, and handrails are not adequate, a lot of things. And you've walked it, Reggie, you know what it's like. And now with the storms, the decomposed granite is washed out and it's even less safe. So that is our number one project
Okay.
and only project.
Any other member of the public wish to speak on Old Town? Not, I'll close the public hearing, and we've heard from, go ahead.
Again,
Yeah,
the Harrison Street steps are our first priority, first and only. And I'd like to see those get done. And so with the Presidio, they run the troops up and down those steps. It's like their own private park horse. So I'm sure they would like to see them.
any members of the commission have any questions on the now one project in Old Town?
Yeah. Thank
Okay, nope. Okay, let's close the hearing on Old Town and move on to Ryan Ranch.
Ryan Ranch, there's two projects nominated in Ryan Ranch. There's the RRO1, which we heard some about earlier briefly. Pickleball, this was funds requested specifically for construction of the facility, $200,000. And then Ryan Ranch 02 was installation of sidewalk along Lower Ragsdale Drive near adjacent to the new Ohana building. And I know there was requests for clarification on whether or not the city can install sidewalks. So I think we're at a place where the answer is yes, the city can install sidewalk adjacent to these commercial property. However, I think it sounds like the rules are the same. It would be up to that property owner to agree, and then they would be responsible. So
Okay, so that is a change in city policy, you're telling.
I'm not saying that. I
Says
think my understanding is that
Policy
we
we've
can.
been lectured about is commercial pays for sidewalks in front of commercial property.
Right. That was what I was told.
Okay. And city policies changed.
Those are the two projects in Ryan Ranch.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing on the Ryan Ranch projects. And just to clarify, the public comments before wasn't on Ryan Ranch 1, it was on last year's
Yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
Ranch project.
I'm
That's
just saying
why
we had heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Michael Lang, so this is a bonus. I get 6 minutes. I thought I was gonna only have 3 minutes tonight. So I'm not exactly prepared for this one. I did make a few notes. If you take anything away from tonight's public comment, I hope the committee recognizes that there's a need for pickleball. We've had a pretty strong showing here. We may differ on what's the way for the city to invest in pickleball. but I think that we've demonstrated that there really is a need for some city investment in pickleball facilities. I personally believe Ryan Ranch is the best location. For those of you that don't know, this site was actually chosen by city staff. There was a NCIP funded feasibility study maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something like that now, that identified this location. It was chosen because it addresses the two main issues, which were neighborhood noise and tennis player conflicts. It's away from residential areas. It's in an area that's already noisy from the adjacent recycling plant. Obviously aircraft there. You know, one thing I always think about, you may know Martina Navratilova, the tennis player. She once tweeted something to the effect that if pickleball is so popular, they should build their own courts. So that's what we're trying to do. You know, it may seem like a remote location, but bottom line is Monterey is 8.6 square miles. Somebody's going to have to travel in their car to get there. It's not going to be close for everybody. Unfortunately, I don't really know where we stand. The city manager suspended the project. So we were supposed to have a design well underway at this point, but we don't actually have anything. So when I put in this project, I thought the design was going to be moving forward. So my hope is that you will essentially use this project as a means to send a message to the city manager saying, NCIP funded projects need to move forward. Let's put a little, you know, backlog. This is a follow-on to the previous one. We already funded the first stage, which was to do the design. So now let's keep the funding going. Let's let them know, hey, you know, this was funded, it's got to move forward. Here's your funding for the next one. So that's kind of the message I hope you will send by ranking this project highly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Okay, I'll close the public hearing on Ryan Ranch projects, bring to commission. Tom?
Yeah, we went through previous years, some of it were still, some of the members here, the number of people that showed up at that hearing, it was bumper to bumper on the pickleball. And I thought the design was going to be done, like he mentioned, and I was not aware that this was something that the city manager put a hold on. I mean, we'd be ready to roll to build them. So-
Last meeting that was one of the 3 projects.
Right. I'm saying that was
Oh,
the
yeah.
first time I heard about it. So the thing is, there needs to be better communication. That's one thing we proved. But I think these guys, the pickleball guys, they're looking for free spaces to play, not paid places. Maybe that's elsewhere, but free is what, you know, I used to play a lot of tennis and I looked for free courts. I didn't look for paid courts. If I wanted to join a paid court, which I did for a while, and if it gets expensive. So we should be able, this city should be able to provide free pickleball courts. That's what this was for. The only question I have is the disc golf guys, they supposedly have done something up there. And the question is whether a design would interfere with what they've done. So I raised that question for Reggie to make sure.
My understanding is part of the design takes that into account as it'd be laid out of how they would be, you know, coexisting and potentially sharing facilities or other elements as well. Dennis, gee whiz, you're seeing none. I thought you were staff.
I may have staff, no. I think I want to point out that NCIP or NIP, whatever you want to call us this week, we don't set policy on what the pricing is going to be for utilization of city facilities. We allow capital spending for making of those facilities. We don't get to determine how it's going to be paid for. Jamie?
I kind of have a feeling that the pickleball courts will be used. I would like to see the material investments that we make implemented and implemented in a way that will help the majority of people. So I think the Ryan Ranch pickleball court is a go. if there was a small amount that we were to help out with downtown, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. I do seem to see an estimate that makes downtown more expensive than the money we've set out already, and that doesn't make sense to me. But other than that, I'm betting they'll all get used, and that benefits our community overall.
Kirk? And then,
Same thing. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think there's probably enough pickleball players, as we know, in here that they would support both. The only issue is if we do this 200,000, what happens?
well,
Because it has to go. up
one
to the
one of
city
two things will happen. Either if we were to vote it, it goes to the council. The council either votes to fund it or they don't.
Okay.
And staff may, or city manager may recommend that they fund it or not, but they have overruled city manager on many projects. So who knows?
Okay.
I think it's one of these, we're getting to the part, if you build it, they will come, as in the baseball story. I think this is an ideal place to do the pickleball. We've got the property, and for one thing, it will not make noise for a neighborhood. There is, in the weekly reported today, that there's a doctor in Pacific Grove that is trying to design a pickleball paddle that will make it quieter and a comfortable handle, as the article reported. I hope he hurries up. Thank you.
Reference the other Ryan Ranch, the sidewalk issue. If this is in fact up to the businesses to put it in, does that make this a withdrawn project?
It's not. Okay, the history is, we used to have direction from the city that commercial has to put their own sidewalks in.
Okay.
So we asked for the thing, Reggie's come back and said that is no longer a requirement of the city. So we could fund it and put it in, but like ones in front of your house, if the city puts it in, you're then required to maintain it. So yes, we could do this based off of current city policy.
So it's up to the property owner to decide whether they want to pay for it.
No, it's up to us if we want to pay for it. If they wanted to pay for it, they could probably go and do it right now.
I like that one.
Dennis.
So that policy seems to have changed. What was our notice of that change, and what is our evidentiary matter that we look at to know what the policy is?
Other than Reggie coming back with the answer to the question that he asked.
So is that a city council's opinion? or
I'm
is that
assuming that's a city
council's?
attorney opinion.
I didn't get a direct.
Hold on, we
if-
might
if
have a
Andrea wants
direct
to-
answer from the Public Works Director.
Yay, Andrea, save the day.
Good, let's not have to put Reggie on the spot.
No, I actually try to get clarification today. So we're not supposed to spend city funds in maintaining commercial sidewalks. We can install new sidewalks, but then the maintenance is the responsibility of the property owner. So I did get clarification
Okay,
today.
realize that is a change from previously what we've been told. But hey, if that's what it is today, that's what it is today. Okay.
I've had the privilege of going to PT at Ryan Ranch since my surgeries. And I watched the construction of that building. They put millions into that building, and they just put new landscaping all along the curb, which means putting sidewalks will take out landscaping that probably cost big bucks. And if they wanted it, they could have put that in when they built the damn building. I mean, it's ridiculous, a brand new building that they spent, I think it's over 10 million. They're
Just
asking us.
remember, any member of the public can submit a
Yeah,
project.
so I think it's nuts. It's totally nuts. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on Ryan Ranch projects? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to Skyline Forest. Reggie.
Okay, Skyline, there's 3 nominated projects. And SK01, Veterans Park Trail Side Educational Signage, a series of signs talking about the forest and so on, 5,000. Installation of new fencing at the Bocce basketball court area. And that was an estimate of 35,000. And then SK03, Veterans Park Day Use Area Erosion Control. This is a returning project from 2009 with an estimate of 200,000. And those are the 3 projects in Skyline.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing on Skyline Forest projects. Anyone wanting to address any of the Skyline Forest projects? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission. Asked you.
SK01 is basically signage. The original estimate was $1,300 to $1,600. I'm like, Louis, do you want to make some signs for us? I'm not sure that should take up voting time and so on, but I think it's an interesting project to be able to call out what what's there in the forest. SK02 is the fence, and the part of that is to have, forget what you call it, but the picket fence with the split rail fence, thank you. And that would catch the basketballs that might go out on the roadway, which might have a child run out in the roadway or an adult get hit by a car up there.
Split rail is going to catch a basketball?
That's the park rangers design up there to do that.
okay.
So
I thought the
that,
ball could fit through the rails, but
no, you put the lower rail low enough to
Ah,
catch the ball and put the higher rail enough so that kind of creates a barrier.
Italian bowling, remember?
Yeah. Now the bocce balls, that'll probably get through there, but that's okay. So, and those posts are kind of in pretty bad condition. They use them for the flags on Memorial Day. So it's like, yeah, probably ought to do that one. The erosion is kind of dangerous because it's in an area where people are walking around using that area, and there are a lot of campers that go there to Veterans Park. And maybe we'll find one in the hole sometime, unless we fix it.
good. Any other questions or comments on Skyline Forest project?
Question, is this one that when they start doing the design, it winds up being $500,000? No, this one is design and construction. So the question is, are you pretty sure stock design is going to be easy?
I don't know nothing. Originally, this was like a $50,000 design. So the price today is 200,000, which I assume means that they can fill it in and it'll be good. I have no idea.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
On SK01, as I understand it, the project only mentions the physical signs, but who's going to write what's on the signs? I'd be happy to help.
Oh, okay. And I mean, this was one, I think it's relatively straightforward. I mean, we can find someone in-house perhaps, or I think we can get it done. I'm not.
Okay. Good.
Are there priorities? I like the signs. I'm not so hot on them. The fill of the hole, I think is a safety concern. The basketball or the running off on the street, I think is a safety concern. So basically it goes 3, 2, 1 in terms of priority.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's close public hearing on Skyline and go to Villa Del Monte.
All right, 5 nominated projects in Villa Del Monte. Villa Del Monte 1, the Casa Verde Way Underpass Murals Phase 2. This is money specifically, a request specifically for the mural construction.
So this is actually the murals. The one we funded is not mural and is on hold is not murals, correct?
The murals were taken off.
I know, I'm just
So-
making a point.
This one on hold.
VM,
No, this
VDM 02.
one, the other part of it.
BDMO 2, Fire Station 13, renovations and safety improvements. This is a neighborhood, oh, yeah, it's neighborhood proposal, $500,000 request. BDM 03, radar sign installation, and without a specific location, $80,000 estimate. BDM 04, traffic calming phase 1, Palo Verde, Encina, and Garden, $360,000. I know there was a question on whether or not the projects had been done. Neither has been done, which is BDM 05, traffic calming at Casa Verde, Encina, curb extensions, $175,000. And those are the 5 projects in Villa Del Monte.
Okay, open public hearing on Villa Del Monte projects. If we have any member of the public who wishes to address us on Villa Del Monte projects. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
There's one online with a raised hand.
Just went up. Okay. Esther, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to question the radar sign. Is that a new submission or something that's been in place for a while? Because when Jeff Krebs was doing NIP, there was there were a couple of radar signs that were submitted for Villa Del Monte that when he went back to them, they removed them because they were not approved properly. So I just wanted to point that out because he ended up giving us the funds for a traffic study. So I just wanted to put that out there. And maybe someday we'll get our radar sign that's already been approved. Thanks.
Thank you, Esther. Okay. Close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
Okay. As folks know, this is the overpass beautification is phased type project, and this is for the artwork and stuff like that. The BDM 02 was not a neighborhood project, that's a city project.
Well, no, the city project it's roughly $1 million. This one was submitted, VDM 02 was submitted by an individual, maybe not the neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah, no, VDM 02 is not, the city submission for fire stations includes both, and that's multi-neighborhood 03.
Okay. Okay, and the radar speed sign was originally, looks like it was submitted in 2007. So.
This is a returning project. It was one of the defunded ones in 2020.
Right. So if you need to check your speedometer, we can put up signs for you. I don't know if that's going to slow you down much, but anyway. And then the traffic calming, thanks for finding those out. That these have not been done, although it looks like the work's been done in those intersections.
As far as I can
Okay,
check
no,
again, but as
no.
far as I know, it has not been done.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, then the priorities, BDM 01 would be 1. 02 would be 3. 03 would be 2. 04 would be 5. 05 would be 4. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments on Villa Del Monte projects? Jamie?
Not to belabor too much, but the reason I voted for the underpass the first time was for the art and the beautification, because this is an entryway to the city that a lot of tourists see when they're coming in to go to events at the fairgrounds. And this is another one of those things where we felt that there was value.
May I, if I may, so this city council meeting that took place there was, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a tremendous amount of back and forth. This was like 2.5 hours, and there was all this lengthy conversation about the, I'm sorry, what was like, there was like 10%, 15, 20% contingency. The council went back and forth and back and forth, and Rick, you were there and you spoke. And they removed specifically $120,000 from this project with the, it's, the intention, I think, is clear. However, the result is unclear, because what the council said was they wanted to free up money. To me, it's clear. They wanted to free up money so that they could do other projects, get further down on the list, including the pickleball court project at Via Prizzo Park, which we did get to, which we did do. But what happened with this, the council gave specific instructions to get additional information on whether or not Caltrans would allow us to do the project. The problem we have is that we can't get an agreement with Caltrans without having a design. So what council left us with was a hollow project. We can't do design until we get the approval to do the design, but we can't, what they asked us to do was to come back with an agreement from Caltrans, which we cannot get unless we do a design. Does that make sense?
Catch 22.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but at that point, the mural had been taken out.
Yes, the council said they removed the money to do any art or artwork
From the project
from
at
the
that
project.
time, correct. And in the
so we're
meantime,
stuck.
the city manager has put a hold on the design, so the whole thing is in limbo. But this would then add back in what the original intent was. Whether or not council will vote on it is anyone's guess.
That was my point,
Yeah.
the intent. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I heard a rumor that Dwayne's resignation is held up until the mosaic is completed. Is that a true rumor?
No comment. Okay. Any other questions or comments on Villa Del Monte projects?
I have one.
Reggie? Richard?
Yes, my hand doesn't seem to show tonight. VDM02, the fire station. The reports on that are a leaking roof, water in the walls, structural issues and seismic issues are even more important in this building than Hilltop, as they actually sleep there and spend 24 hours a day there. So I hope this figure that we have here includes those seismic and structural issues. This building is actually older than Hilltop by about 20 years. So I'm just looking at the safety of the personnel that live there and how it ties in with our lives, especially in an emergency like an earthquake. Don't want the building collapsing. So rather than cosmetic, I don't know what the multi-neighborhood project includes, because it doesn't mention seismic or structural issues or termites. So I hope that we get this clarified in this project before we vote, because a $500,000 figure doesn't tell me anything about what we're doing to that building to make it safe and then modern and then cosmetic. Thank you.
The list that's on that project does not include seismic or any of that aspect.
That's my worry.
Okay, any other questions or comments on Villa Del Monte projects? Yeah.
So I think my issue with some of the rehab renovation projects is that there doesn't seem to be a clear outline plan of where the money is going to go in terms of how they're spending it. So it's just kind of like a list of things that they would like. Most of it sounds cosmetic. And I remember we did ask about whether or not there was a public works study that looked at these aging buildings and what exactly needed to be done. And I feel like that should have been the first step before asking for any type of money is kind of figuring out what needs to be done and how much it's going to cost. So I think this is a general trend that I'm kind of seeing, and I just wanted to point that out.
I think our Public Works Director would like to chime in.
We did award a contract for facilities assessment, and that does include all the fire stations. So one of the reasons why we weren't too specific is that we are going to take the facilities assessment, and then the funding is going to be used for the most critical items.
When is that facilities assessment due to be completed?
I think we're about, we ordered, the council awarded the contract, so I think we're waiting for insurance, and then we're going to get going as soon as possible.
Okay. So by the time this was actually would be funded, potentially,
We
there'd
could
be
get
knowledge
started.
of what to do.
Yes. Mhm.
And if it's less than 2.5 million, the money will come back?
Yes.
Okay. Like and unicorns fly. Any other on Villa Del Monte projects? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to multi-neighborhood, which we kind of already started with.
All right, multi-neighborhood. There's 13 projects. MN01 citywide ALPR cameras request a specific request of $130,000. MN02 recreation trails, separate lanes for bikes and pedestrians, an estimate of $380,000. MN03, this is the city submitted proposal, $1,050,000 for FS for Fire Station 12, $1.2 million for Fire Station 13. Undergrounding, so there are currently two undergrounding proposals. The city's MN04 with $2 million per year for this year, $2 million. And then newly revised MN06, which also includes what was MN07, and it's targeting specifically Del Monte Avenue, adjacent to the Naval Postgraduate School, #1, and then #2, North Fremont Street. And MN05, this has also been revised to include Fisherman Flats, and this has an estimate of $1 million across the city. MN08, comprehensive fire safety analysis and develop hazard reduction program, estimate of $250,000. And there's been some questions about how does this compare, or is it different than what's been done? And I think that's something we still have to look into. And then MN09 was a prior fund to purchase property. It was NCIP Opportunity Purchase Fund, which was funds were taken back in 2020, and the fund was not reestablished. So I guess it's a question to the committee if you want to reestablish that fund. MN10 is Community-Wide Public Art Security Plan Phase 1, returning project from 2016 with an estimate of $100,000. MN11, returning project, Community-Wide Historic Monterey Master Plan for Art with an estimate of $150,000. Recreation Trail bike repair stations, two at two different locations on the trail with an estimate of $30,000. New Monterey 13, Holman Highway, the Viejo Road bike pathway renovation is parallels to 68. Estimate of $250,000. Multi-neighborhood 14 is another returning project, community-wide recreation trail restroom signage, estimate of $30,000. And those are the multi-neighborhood projects.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing to members of the public. You can rush all over each other to get to the mic.
Or the rush after pickleball, right? Jean Rash, Monterey Vista. So the leadership of Old Town and Monterey Vista, Hans Janisch, and Monterey Undergrounding, which is represented by Ray Myers and myself, we all got together and combined multi-neighborhood 06 and 07 to make it easier for everybody and more decipherable. We kept the priority from which Old Town really wanted, which was a Del Monte focus, because that was the site of the downed wires that took out the electricity for Del Monte Del Monte and a lot of PG and a good part of Monterey. And we also, as we sat there working together last weekend, decided to include overage for the North Fremont Rule 20A district that we're waiting to have started. Now there's $4.7 million of credits with PG&E for North Fremont. That's probably going to be plenty, but we realized that we would be upset if there was a shortfall for North Fremont, and we would want that covered as the first priority for undergrounding. We need a successful project. We need North Fremont to start. We need North Fremont to end. So we included that in this new proposal, this combined proposal. So it's focusing on Del Monte and the completion of North Fremont. We dropped the loan provision language because that was confusing everybody, and it proved to be unnecessary because actually the North Fremont ordinance addresses liens. So we don't even need that language. And we did keep the idea of the underground conversion committee, and it's a great idea, but it's also recommended by PG&E in their Rule 20 handbook on how to get these projects moving and completed. So we didn't keep the language on a conversion committee. And that's it for me. Thank you.
I got a question for you. Are you willing to put in there a time frame? So we're not sitting here 10 years from now and having $2 million still sitting there? Where it has to happen within?
I think we're, it's a reasonable.
Part rhetorical, part actual question.
Right. Reasonable question. And we're open to any good suggestions. The trouble is these just take a long time.
What?
They take a long time. And we have one that's much simpler from 2007. So we aren't original, but yes, I mean, we're open for discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. I'm Ray Myers. I'm from Monterey Undergrounding. Ben Franklin is remembered for many things, but his contribution to understanding the nature of electricity is not so well known. Oh, if you including the kite flying excavated in the storm, maybe, but he knew nothing about electrons and how they move freely across conductors. He only knew electricity was packed a heck of a lot of punch when it was discharged. And as with lightning or when he would zap his friends at parties, he referred to electricity as fire. That's the part that caught my attention because of its awesome power. And I think today that's an apt metaphor for us to consider every time you step outside and have a look up at those poles of our beautiful city. Think of them as fire moving across those lines. One transformer shorting out or one tree branch swaying in the wind, causing an electric arc that will turn air into plasma at temperatures greater than the surface of the sun. That's the impact of those electric lines. Undergrounding those fire lines will be completely change this dynamic. Buried in the earth, they're safe and won't harm us, and they're less vulnerable to failure since they're no longer bare conductors exposed to the elements. Our trees will no longer need to be sacrificed from the continual over trimming and can flourish once again without the worry of interfering wires. By underground, our utilities will improve the safety, the beauty of our city and address the reliability issue, which is an immediate and bold move on a significant long-term plan. You know, underground utilities are already required in new construction, but the existing pole infrastructure now is aging. Nationally and statewide, there's a mounting discussion on how we're going to convert this existing overhead utility by burying them safely underground. As fundings become available, the cities that have their underground conversion plans ready to implement will be the first in line. Last summer, the CPUC has rewritten the rules for Rule 20 tariff, which was established in 67 to pay for undergrounding, not familiar. The new guidelines suggest cities moving forward should have a biannual meeting with the utility rep and to listen to what the local city leaders have to say, what are most important to them. To maximize the advantage of these opportunities, cities should consider establishing this conversion master plan and a planning committee and an underground conversion plan. The NCIP funds for MN06 can go to establish an underground committee and put our city at the front of the line for available funds in the future. NCIP is a capital improvement, and undergrounding and removing the unsafe, unreliable, ugly utility poles is a capital improvement. Street by street, it'll ensure our safety, update, and modernize our infrastructure, and preserve the natural beauty of our city.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Grimes. I'm a member of the Old Town Neighborhood Association. I've lived in Old Town over 30 years, and I'm here to promote undergrounding. Ray and Jean have kind of put everything in a nutshell. It's needed. Our neighborhoods need it. We all need it. We need it for safety. We need it for reliability. And if NCIP can start the ball rolling and get these things in movement, it just would be a great boon, I think. And I think we all need it for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Gary Soule, and I'm on the board of the Old Town also. And these presentations are going to get progressively shorter. Last night, the Old Town Board at our meeting voted 100% to support MN06. And please keep in mind, this is not just for Old Town and Monterey Vista. It's for the whole city. A year ago in February with CERT, we were out checking people with no power. Did they have machines that were keeping them alive? Okay, they were still in town. They could have been stuck in town if some trees had gone down. That's all we have. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Soule again with Old Town. I just want to say and reiterate how important this MN06 project is. It started, we did start out with a submission by Susie Grimes for Old Town on the behalf of Old Town. It got put to multi-neighborhood, and then within having competing multi-neighborhood reports, we worked it out what would be the very best. And the reason that the priorities still remain to go with Del Monte, Gary mentioned there and Susie and Jean and Ray about how important the stability is of the infrastructure. You lose business dollars when we have 3 or 4 days with no power. And that Del Monte part was the substation where it controlled it going out to Pacific Grove, to Monterey, to Pebble Beach. And perhaps there will be something that the county can help work with other sources, since it is really even more than just the city of Monterey. But we need to start. Gary and I just came back from Maui 2 weeks ago. We went by the devastation in Lahaina, and the comparisons are really quite similar into a community that has very few avenues to escape from. In the event that you have a fire, you need to get those utility lines down over the major arteries. That's why you see Del Monte. It's not an Old Town street. That's why you see Fremont, again, because that's a main artery to escape from all over the peninsula. And the Fremont, as Ray, I believe was the one, or maybe it was Jane, reiterated, we already have money that every taxpayer or every PG&E payer pays in their bills under a Rule 20 to help with undergrounding. And that money is forfeited if the city doesn't complete it on their end. That's why any excess would go to complete the PG&E project that has already got funds from PG&E forfeited. And I believe the timeline you asked for, I think it has something to do like about 5 years from now, that those monies get forfeited from PG&E. Thank you. 2033, I stand corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go online to Debbie Majors Degnan. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Debbie. And I just want to say that my husband and I have just finished undergrounding and upgrading our electric system here at our house. And it takes a long time. Our project took almost 4 years. Much of it was PG&E's issue because they have a few number of people that actually do this kind of work and are available to do the sign-offs, and they have to do all of the research. If you have a third party doing the project, etc., they've got to do the design, they have to see the design and everything. But it is a safety issue. And the fact that these neighborhoods have gotten together and said, it doesn't have to first happen in my neighborhood, but it needs to start happening, I think is enough of an incentive to drive people to do this, that they're willing to spend their money in the most significant neighborhoods that would experience this safety issue. Thank you.
We'll go to Esther Malkin. Go ahead, Esther.
Hi, again. Yeah, I wanted to comment on the undergrounding with the North Fremont. North Fremont is going to be getting a lot of attention in the coming years. We are going to be looking at revitalizing it and making it more of a business district rather than what it's been, which is basically abandoned. And so for that reason, along with the money that we already have sitting from PG&E, and I'd like to point out that there is a substation at the corner of Casanova and North Fremont as well. I would like to see us not lose that PG&E funding. And if a date needs to be set on when the NCIP money would go back to NCIP, I think maybe the way to go is that when the PG&E money, hopefully doesn't go away, that should be the same target date. Because without that money, I don't know that we're going to be able to start anything with just $2 million. I also just want to support the bike trail expansion for pedestrians. That's a huge liability for the city. It's too crowded, and just like, jurisdictions add a lane of traffic when there's high traffic that's increased in an area over time, that rec trail has to be treated similarly because it does get crowded, especially when it's tourist season. And the pedestrians have just as much right to be on that rec trail than the bike riders do. So I just wanted to comment on that. And I do support the firefighter buildings. I agree with Richard, this building is older than Hilltop. And, it is, again, another liability. We've got our first responders in there. If they get trapped, in an earthquake, they're not going to be available to come and help the rest of the people in the area. So I would like to see them get as much funding as possible and be prioritized over all the other projects. I also hope that the city's going to kick in some more money. And again, this is a byproduct of the lack of foresight of the previous city councils. Unfortunately, not enough money was ever put away for, infrastructure maintenance, as if, 50-year-old buildings were not going to start needing some, maintenance. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. I will go to Robert Yoha. Go ahead.
I've unmuted. I would like to support the bike trail study. And basically, I've been riding a bicycle about 50 years in Monterey. And there's a choke point trying to get from the wharf to New Monterey. It's Lighthouse Avenue. Lighthouse Avenue has become a high-speed highway right in the middle of Monterey. It's no longer safe to ride a bicycle on it. And the only safe place to ride between the wharf and to get through Cannery Row is the bicycle trail. That was originally built for our visitors. It has a lot of pedestrians on it. It now has tourists riding e-bikes, and they're also riding bicycles. They're looking around, they're mixed in with pedestrians. And then you get a local resident coming through for recreation or going to go shopping or business on a bicycle. The rec trail has now become the single sole safe access for bicyclists to get through that part of the peninsula. It's not safe to ride a bicycle on Lighthouse through New Monterey. It's not safe to ride on Hawthorne, which is the bypass street. It's not safe to ride on Foam Street or Cannery Row. And the recreation trail is now our only safe access route, and it's mixed in with all of our visitors. We really need to do a study and do something about having basically moving vehicles and pedestrians on the same pathway. It's wide enough to have separate lanes. I think it's time to let's do the last study and let's fix this problem, because as tourists become our sole source of income, we don't want to endanger them with vehicles on the same pathway. So please, if you could support the bicycle study and the pedestrian study for using the rec trail, it's a safety issue now at this point. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have also online Villa Del Monte Neighborhood Association. Go ahead.
President of Villa Del Monte Neighborhood Association. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I would like to support undergrounding for the North Fremont Business District. And I agree with everything that Esther Malkin said about the Villa Del Monte Business I'm sorry, the North Fremont Business District, of which Villa Del Monte neighborhood is part. We definitely need more attention on this side of town for the hospitality industry over here. No, it's not high-end room rates, but it does service a wide sector of tourists that come here. I also would like to endorse, I submitted the project for Station 13 in my neighborhood, the fire station, for the improvements. And I endorse, of course, all those improvements that are proposed. Our firefighters deserve it. That fire station is incredibly old and it needs some serious attention for safety reasons for the firefighters and as a consequence for our greater community. And I'm kind of late to this meeting, so I don't know if I'm allowed to speak on this, but I'm also just pitching my project for the Casa Verde Underpass project, the art component of it. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Okay. There's actually no requirement that a speaker has to identify themselves. Any other members of the public speak on any multi-neighborhood? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission.
A question on the undergrounding. They put the undergrounding in. How does it get to my house? And who pays for it?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Vice Chair. There are a wide variety of, there are a few choices in the answer to that. most of the time when it's publicly funded, the private laterals are private responsibility. In the ordinance for when they made the North Fremont District, they said that the individuals had to be responsible for their laterals, but if they couldn't, it could be an assessment. And then if it wasn't paid, it would become a lien against the property. So what I'm saying is the backup is the public entity, the city pays for it. If the owner can't or won't, then the city can do it with the city's money and put a lien against the property that's reimbursed at the next sale of the property.
So to put the question is, property owner is responsible, how it actually gets paid.
Has there been anything computed on what an average cost would be?
It's estimated to be 15, 20,000, 25,000, depending on how long your driveway is. Now, I don't want to belabor it, but people like Pebble Beach, they just roll it into their tax basis and everybody's getting it paid for through their assessment. That's a whole different world.
Question, another question. Your memo that we got today, you mentioned MN06, but it looks like MN06 was combined with MN04.
Well, we haven't heard from 04. 04 is the city. And I think that was, if I may speak for the city, a placeholder for the whole concept when the city manager on February 6th suggested to council and indirectly to NCIP to NIP to do a $2 million fund. I think Reggie came in with a placeholder concept, and then Old Town came in with a plan, and then Monterey Undergrounding / Monterey Vista came in with their proposal. And
Is
so
that
now
true, Reggie?
06 and 07 are one.
Is that true, Reggie?
Yes, the
Okay,
city did
that's what I
submit
want to
that.
know.
Yes,
So, but 06 and 07 have been merged as one project.
that is, yes,
Okay.
yes, that is correct. All things are true.
And then
So,
Kurt and then Dennis,
all right. So I read again.
and then
the
Richard online.
city's request for the undergrounding. It includes a city somebody to manage that. Staff person. That's what it says.
It is what it says. You're right, Kurt.
So we would be funding that, and it says $2 million perpetuity. So NCIP could be funding this every year, like we do.
It would have to be a project every year.
Right.
We need, but we also need to consider they're asking for a staff person.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yep.
Oh,
So yeah, actually, we had Dennis up first, then Junior.
So I like the gentleman's comment about the electricity and above ground wires is fire. And most people don't know it, but everything above ground is not coated. That's why when it gets down to the ground and bounces around, it starts fires. So with the fire department and CERT, which I've done for 26 years, we play with those wires, we stay away from those wires, and we keep the public back from those wires because there is no coating on them. When they put them underground, then they're coated. They're still subject to damage by backhoes and that kind of thing. I look at the cost of undergrounding is astronomical. Do I think it would be a great idea if we were building from scratch? Absolutely. The other thing is, I learned this morning that to be in time for my surgery, I'm going to be leaving at 3:30 in the morning tomorrow. So I'm going to depart and just watch
Okay.
the rest of the meeting on video.
Junior and then Richard.
So my question is the $2 million figure. It sounds like that figure is coming directly from the city manager when he mentioned it during the city council. And then everyone's just been kind of using that number. And I also feel like that number came from the extra $4 million. So I don't really know what we would get for $2 million if this was something that would be funded.
I think the question is no one knows for sure because we still have to do the plan of exactly what and how far PG&E has to do the design and then to know, have to have the design to even begin to know that. reality is it probably won't get a whole lot.
I guess
think
my
it's a
question
safe
is,
bet.
I understand there needs to be a design. How much does a design cost?
My understanding, design is done by PG&E. That's not the cost. The cost, what we're funding is the actual undergrounding. Is that? Yes, yeah, I just want to make sure.
Couple of quick things about the laterals. The national average is between 5 and 12,000, including panel work. It can be high, like Gene mentioned, but it's not on average. And a lot of people will combine the trench that's dug, you know, that kind of
Did
stuff.
we-
So there are other things. As
did we
far as
get
your
to the
the question, the $2 million. So planning, the planning, the master plan, that is a primary objective, and that's done by potentially a city, non-city staff members, just residents, and to put together the plan. And the outline is really clear. It's already in the Rule 20 handbook and how it's done, and examples, and the conversion plan, et cetera. So that's not where the money's going. So that specific project that we're talking about, those are 60 kV lines. They're big, high voltage lines that are feeding the city as well as Pacific Grove and Del Monte Forest. That'll cost money. And that $2 million, that'll use up a good portion of it. Even though it's only a quarter mile, they treat that differently, and they do the undergrounding differently than a distribution line that's in a neighborhood. So that's a good chunk of it right there. And that is the priority. That's the one that's going to make a huge impact on the city. Because if that line stays stable when there is a major storm, power lines don't go down unless they do in an area where it's specific. Our design around the city is a radial design, which means that, you mentioned earlier, one of the gentlemen up here, they lives in an underground district, but we lost power. Well, that you didn't lose power when a tree goes down in your area. You lost it when one of those main arteries that get knocked out.
We have a specific question.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know that I heard the answer because you were
Yeah,
speaking to the design of the overall plan.
Okay.
The actual design of the undergrounding that line.
Correct.
Does the 2 million pay for it? Or does PG&E pay for the underground?
No, I'm sorry to be specific. Yeah, the $2 million would go to the cost of the actual work on the
But
project
PG&E does
itself.
The design of that piece, but the overall master plan of how it goes.
Yeah, the master
We
plan
would be paying.
is not, yeah, it's not part of that.
Correct.
Well, and I could tell you, the source of the $2 million was that I think we came up with the number. It was roughly, I forget exactly.
Pulled out of the air.
No, it wasn't pulled out of the air. It was based on it was some cost per foot to install underground line. And the number came out to $500 million on the low end. And we said, if we wanted to do this in a reasonable amount of time, which we took out to like 25 years, that was $2 million a year to get to $500 million. That's so in order, I mean, we can't do much with $2 million, but we can't do anything with nothing. And we can't get $500 million in 1 year. So we had to come up with something. So it could be anywhere from 1 million to, I mean, it's just, I mean, just for everyone's reference, right? The annual entire budget for the city of Monterey is $100 million. That's the whole thing. Soup to nuts, beginning, middle, and end is 100 million. So in order to do $500 million, it would take everything the city has for 5 years, doing nothing else.
10 seconds?
We've already closed public hearing. We've already closed public hearing.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
I thought
I
you
mean,
wanted to.
no, I think I think that you read, I can put it in perspective. It's a start. Okay, go ahead.
It'll be
But we
really
did
quick.
close the public hearing part.
So for North Fremont, PG&E is doing a design. So the city would have to come up with the delta between the credit that we have with PG&E, which is not money in a bank, but they call it credits. But for Del Monte, we would have to fund the design for it.
Okay,
It would
so
not
we
be
would be
PG&E.
funding, so the 2 million would begin funding
Yes.
design for it.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have to use PG&E for the design?
We would use a consultant for the design, but
Because there's
as
bound to be someone quicker than
you,
PG&E.
as you mentioned, it is also not your residential power lines. You're talking about high
Okay.
voltage. So it's, the design is pretty
Okay,
complex.
thank you.
And just for clarity, the $2 million covers the design for Del Monte in addition to,
$2 million goes into pot to go towards undergrounding of Del Monte, and if there's any money needed for Fremont beyond what was there, whether that's, I
But it
would
would-
assume it would start
it's
with
the
design and.
design and
It's
construction.
a start. It's a start. So if you look at MN04, so there's the figure. It's $1,000 per foot to do this undergrounding work. Okay?
But that's regular underground, not
It's
the high.
right. That's
high
not,
voltage.
you're right. That's not even this.
That's not these guys.
That's not right. That's an average cost for, yeah, like in, down a residential street. $100, $1,000 per foot, there's 5,280 feet in a mile. I mean, this is incredibly expensive work. The $2 million may or may not complete anything. It's just a start.
It's probably a safe bet it would get us the design for undergrounding Del Monte and maybe more.
That's why it hasn't been done.
But yeah, I guess like why not submit a higher? bid
Well,
to actually get that done?
Sky's the limit.
Actually, Richard's had his hand up online for a bit, then we'll go. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, comments about MN01, the license plate readers. This proposal is only for the purchase of the cameras and the installation to show community support for our police department. An example of how these cameras work happened this week in Seaside in the middle of the night on a residential street. This man comes up to a car, pours liquid over it, sets it on fire. It was a horrific fire near homes. The license plate readers tracked him down. He's arrested. He's in jail. It works. You can think what happened if he poured it on a house. What would have happened? Man was from Marina. He burned a car in Seaside. I don't know why. I don't care to know why, but he's in jail now. So that system does work. I hope you support it. MN02, the rec trail design. I asked several questions in all previous meetings on whether recreation staff, recreation commission, or anybody else can tell me this is a good project or bad project. I don't know. Not my opportunity or desire to design this. I know how complex it is. Did staff respond at all? Or did a commission respond? I'll wait for the comment from staff as I go through my list. MN04, the undergrounding. The pole in front of my driveway has got a date on it, 1948. It's rotten, it's split. I can see the need. These poles are, if you look at old pictures of Monterey in 1880, when they got their first telephone poles, nothing's improved since 1880, same problems. I want to endorse the MN12, the repair stations, which is listed at $30,000. As I understand it, the original project, Tamsy was going to pay for the equipment, and all we had to do was install it. Hopefully, we can do it cheaper than $30,000 for a little concrete. And so that completes my comments on the multi-neighborhood. And most of my questions have been answered. I'm a little confused on the fuel reduction projects. We have so many of them. Are they all combined into one project now? And is it going to be a different number? Or do we have to vote on each one independently? I would like to know that. Thank you. If Reggie can answer any of that.
Well, I'll take the easy one. The forest management has, two of them have been combined. I sent an email to the individual that had recommended the Old Capitol site, and I did not receive a response. But MN05 and the Fisherman Flats 01, those two are combined with the current, request of 1 million.
What would that number be?
Excuse me? Oh,
So-
it's going to be MN05. FS
fine.
is gone, and it will just be MN05.
Thank you. And the other question on the rec trail design.
I don't have an answer for you.
Okay, so, but this is a study. It's not construction in the plan. This is a study.
The rec trail project, the middle asks for actual separation. It doesn't ask for a study.
It's not a study.
No, it asks for separation.
Yeah.
So we vote on it even if we don't know if it's a good or bad plan.
That's where we are.
All right. I understand, Reggie. Thank you.
Okay. Money Grove. Back to undergrounding. This could be very basic. What is basic? Do we think of projects MN04 and MN06 combined? They're both $2 million, and I'm thinking ahead to voting night.
I mean, well, the request has been made to combine the projects. I mean, we just haven't had a chance to have a serious discussion on whether or not that's the path forward.
Okay, yeah, I know we're combining MN06 and MN07.
Correct.
But I
Yes.
didn't know about MN04.
So right
Yes.
now, 4 is a separate project.
Or it remains a separate project at this time.
So we could be voting on 4 million then, total.
As it is right now, you would be, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I just have a follow-up on MN05. So for the forest management, now that it's a community-wide project, is that going to include all areas of the city? And how might regions actually be prioritized under that project, or who'd be the best person to kind of?
Well, that would
get
be
clarity.
the urban forester. But yes, I mean, they manage, the green belts and trees throughout the city. So they,
Well, it's just like
So they
there's
have-
certain communities listed up there that are
well, I mean,
non-inclusive of the whole city.
it's,
So I was just curious if
it's inclusive of, it would be community-wide, citywide, whatever term you want to use. It would include everything.
All right. Yeah, so we do have a green belt fuel reduction plan that was put together a while ago. So that does have all the green belts mapped out. It is with our staff, we do kind of doing site visits. We gauge what looks like it needs more work. Obviously, with the storms last few years, we still have down trees in some of those areas, and obviously that's going to be a higher priority versus some of our green belts that haven't had as many down trees, but just have tall grass right now. So that's just kind of seasonal weeding, for instance. Does that answer your question? Partially.
So it's basically,
Yeah, it'd
highest need first.
It'd
But
be-
yeah, absolutely.
that
Sure.
So my understanding, you have Deer Flats listed here. My understanding is we own our own green belt, so we do our own
Correct.
annual maintenance.
Yeah.
So I think that's a
Oh, we have
prohibition.
we have fish flats, right? We have the green belt, the tiny one that's not tiny, but kind of narrow, right? That comes off via Maritmo. So we exactly. Exactly.
I guess what he's saying is take DF off of the list.
But no, it's like, yeah, I guess like speaking to my neighborhood though in Aguajito Oaks, like there is, from my understanding, a small recreation trail that classifies under the green belt. That's outside of the.
Not in Aguajito Oaks that I know of. That's that we take care of. I believe you have some Pebble Beach that goes along Aguajito Oaks
On
and
the
your
west
own
side.
green belt on the other side. But I don't think there's any city that that I know of. But I'll double check. If there's
Thank
any
you.
little crevices there. Yeah.
Okay, any other members of the commission? Jay?
Just real quick, want to put a word in on MN2 rec trail. And this is one of those things where Everybody's busy, there's different directions, and maybe NIP, NCIP, we can be a lead. I do a lot of bike riding very slowly on the weekends when everybody else is out. And I will tell you, the rec trail is great right now. We use people as human speed bumps to control speed. And I've seen the accidents that people cause, walkers cause for bikes, and it's not pretty. And so, I think it's important for us to do something and get something moving because it doesn't work the way it is. And I think we heard that Caltrans does recommend something like this. So I think maybe it's time for us to lead.
I'm going to chime in on MN02. The problem with MN02 is not a design to see what's most effective. This is a specific design that someone wants and wants us to fund and do. It's had no review from Parks and Rec or anyone else. I mean, if this were a study for solving or trying to address pedestrian bike conflicts on the trail, which I agree there are issues, I support it, but that's not what the MN02 is.
But I don't know if you remember, we did have a whole conversation about studies a few years back, and that was poo-pooed, and now nothing's
I'm
happened.
not saying that. I'm just saying this project is not a study. This is a person has his idea, his design, he wants implemented.
And I'm literally saying, just peel the paint up if it didn't work. Otherwise, put the paint down.
But we deal with what's submitted to us.
Just a quick question. Is it clear on MN03 where it says fire stations, plural rehab? And then it refers to NM13 and VDM02. Is that for, I'm not really sure what that project is.
Both stations.
Both stations.
Yep. Well, should say the two stations, not all three, not the one at the Public Safety Center downtown.
Yeah.
Any other aspects? I have no other questions to chime in. I'll have a lot of comments come voting night, but right now it's pretty clear. My only thing I brought up was the question too on undergrounding is my one concern is I'd love to see some time frame. I don't know what that is, but the challenge I have is when city sees pots of money, there's a tendency to want to take them to use to other things. And and that's a challenge. I don't want us to all of a sudden have 10 million sitting in undergrounding fund. And, oh, we have a financial emergency. That 10 million is going to something else. And the more that's sitting there, the more that's the possibility. So I want to see it happening if we were to do it. It is a challenge from the standpoint. This is actually, the first project is actually an easier one to do because I don't think you're going to be dealing with the issue of how you paying for the laterals and the things of that nature yet. And it'll deal, I'm glad we're seeing it on the main entryways because part of the issue I've had through the time frame is what's the plan? And it really shouldn't be thinking of a neighborhood or where do we need it most from a safety standpoint, from a safe way to get out of town standpoint to a lot of different things. And if that may or may not be in one of the neighborhoods that was really talking about, I'm glad seeing it, taking it from the standpoint of looking at the bigger picture, which is great. Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other comments, or I don't think I missed anyone online, we'll close the public hearing portion of this agenda item. And next item is NCIP informational reports. Do we have any? I have a spokesperson report.
Yes, I have a couple updates. Unfortunately, we haven't completed any projects since we last met 2 weeks ago.
You haven't done things in 2 weeks, Reggie? I mean, really?
Well, I was on a pretty good roll. I like to keep it going, but right now we're at 60 active projects, $10.4 million in budget, and we're working on 15 projects currently. Just coming to updates, I think the big one for you guys is that Parks and Rec department would like to have, they're pitching the idea of a special meeting on June 27 to present where we are with the old Capitol site. Because, and why June 27 is just kind of where things fall because they want to come to NCIP before going to the Parks Commission, before going to City Council. So you'll see an email from Parker or myself kind of asking for some feedback on whether or not that date works for the committee. And so you don't have, no need to respond right now, but just keep that in mind. The other big one is where we have kind of a tentative construction start date. And keep your fingers crossed that it becomes firm for Veterans Park West parking lot. Right now, looking at a start date of June 10th to get that going. Other big where we are since then, we got some proposals for the rec trail crossing at Casa Verde Way. And Mark Thomas separated bike path is also out for bids right now. So those are the big ones. And yeah, that's what I have. And as I said before, the next meeting is voting night. Oh, well, prior to that, we'll have a special meeting. Well, no, our next meeting will be voting and then the special meeting to talk about Old Capitol site specifically.
Okay, thank you,
That's
Reggie.
it.
Okay, on spokesperson report, last meeting, you asked me to meet with the city attorney to discuss the projects being put on hold by the city manager. I had a great discussions with the city attorney. The situation is this: the city attorney, as she put it, has the right to take to the council if there's new information or anything and ask them to reconsider a project. So in her view, he can do it, but he needs to be getting that scheduled, and she was going to get into contact with him to make sure it happens, that he cannot just put on indefinite hold a project. If he's got an objection, he needs to take it to the council. Like the example was with the whole cannabis ordinance. I'm not sure if you're all familiar what happened. It was moving down the pike to do it. There's been a lot of crime-related things happening throughout the state with dispensaries. Police chief was concerned and city manager was concerned, and they brought back to the council a request to potentially look or delay that entire process, which is, you know, that's their right to do. Council made their decision, decided to move forward anyway. So he can do that, but he needs to be bringing it to the council. I do not have a scheduled date yet when that's happening, and I'm due to call the city attorney again to see what her answer is of what he said, but it cannot just be on indefinite hold. So it's kind of got us an answer, kind of didn't. Basically, it needs to be an open public process, and if he's going to come argue it in front of the council, he needs to give the reasons, and therefore it's you know, needs to make the case, and the council can change their mind and on any project. They're the ultimate deciders. So now, if they were to say no, we don't want to fund those anymore, those funds would then come back into the NCIP pot for allocation, and if it were to happen before June, it would be in this cycle. So that pretty much you know, sums up where that is. I also brought up to the city attorney the challenge of when major issues related to NCIP are in front of the council and discussions are going, the fact that the chair or the official spokesperson for the commission should not be limited to 3 minutes because it cannot adequately go into all issues related to it, and she agreed. So we'll see, but at the end of the day, that's the call of the mayor of how much time, but she would be recommending that the official spokesperson be given the length of time necessary because we have information to provide to the council, and it's not fair to have the whole issue brought up without full information. So
Good job.
well, we'll see how good it is or not, but no, it was a very constructive conversation, and you know, it's like I said, we have to remember at the end of the day, the council can change their mind on a project and choose to defund, but it's not saying, okay, now we're going to move it to something else that's coming back into the pot. So that's my spokesperson report. Next item on the agenda is committee member comments. Anyone want to start off?
So I had every intention of attending the last meeting virtually, but we were with our grandkids and our agenda that day got thrown off and I was going to join real late. So I was being early in the list. I just wanted to say the two projects that we have. One was not really from us, that one for the Highway 68 pedestrian and light and all that. I don't know how that got associated with us, but we have no priority for that. But the one we did put in for the to be able to switch off that power to that island is our only priority for Deer Flats for this year. I did bring, he left, he came in to see the first part of the meeting, but Scott Kovic has nominated to be our rep for next year. He's Navy, going to retire, probably stay on postgraduate school, but I agreed to serve as an alternate next year. So I've nominated myself to be the Deer Flats alternate. But anyway, I wish I could have introduced Scott, but he should be good for
Okay.
next year.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Richard?
Yes, from my perspective, this has been one of the most difficult years as we have many, many proposals, many duplicate proposals, which are slightly different. But the information we need to make an intelligent, efficient use of taxpayer money, a lot of that information wasn't forthcoming. It was not Reggie's fault because the flow from the commission's other staff really didn't come in. So we have to vote accordingly and definitely cannot vote for projects in which we put great deals of money that's just sit there for future councils to drool over. Our job is to make the city better, to do what the people are asking us they say is important. I'm going to be participating by Zoom, so I presume I have to come down and get the voting cards if we're using the same system again. But this is a very difficult year. Voting from a 0 to 10 when you're not sure what you're voting for is a very non-productive way for us to recommend to the council because we spend hours at this. The public informs us. And I was really disappointed when Rick was before the council on several meetings and limited to 3 minutes, given the amount of hundreds of hours of work this committee puts in on these projects to get things done, to make this a better city. And I totally disagree that NCIP is being blamed for the deterioration of city buildings because Rick and I have been on this since the beginning. And I can tell you in all those years, we never had a project to remodel Hilltop, Fire Station 12 or Fire Station 13. It was never proposed to us. And we can't invent these projects because we don't know what they need in these buildings. So to be unfairly blamed for not supporting infrastructure, I think is the worst thing they could do to this committee by saying that. And a review of what we've done for city buildings, I know we put $1 million in the library already because I sponsored those projects. And there are so many, I can't count them. But I hope somebody can clear up this miscommunication with our council and our staff on exactly what we're going through and the information we need to make valid decisions to recommend. Otherwise, why are we doing this? It was a good meeting. I thank you all.
Okay, Luz, Adam?
Yes. Hello. First of all, I've been having problems with logging in, and when they do call roll, they don't hear me, but I've been here. Okay, I have two questions, and one is about the underground utilities. They talk about doing them and money and all that, but no one has mentioned if they do underground utilities on Del Monte, and it is predicted that we might be inundated with the water rising from the ocean. Have that been taken into consideration after they do that? And in general, I think when they are asking for money without specifics, why they want to use the money for, just give us 2 million but not exactly what for. Other than that, I think we have to really try hard to make good decisions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Luz. Any other commissioner have a comment? Not, I'll chime in with mine. I've got a bit of an issue with all the, we've been getting blamed for a lot of all the city buildings falling apart and all the rest. I did a letter to the editor not that long ago that asked a basic question. Over the last 8 years, or about 4 years ago, we passed Measure Y, which was specifically a TOT increase in order to address facilities needs and all the rest. Before that, we passed another sales tax measure that increased the base. We've increased millions of dollars a year, and then specifically to address facilities. I guess my question is, where'd the money go? Because obviously it didn't go to fix fire stations. It didn't go to fix Hilltop Park. So where did all that money go, and where is it continuing to go? Because that wasn't one-time money. That was tax funds raising it every year. So as a taxpayer, I would like to know where that money's gone for those taxes. When we passed the measures for the streets, it was very clear, and we can see where it's going, it's been using, and it had a sunset. But we put money into operations and facilities and no idea where it's gone. So to now all of a sudden, in effect, imply that, or to say previous councils didn't put a focus on, I would agree. No council has put the focus on what they should have of facilities and facilities funding. When the sports center was built, there should have been a portion of the entry fee going to a fund for ongoing maintenance, because gee whiz, we're building a building next to the ocean, which is a harsh environment. It's gonna need to have things replaced over time. But unfortunately, the city didn't think forward and do that. So now we're having to do catch up. But NCIP can do its part, but the bigger question is, where is the money that was specifically voted on as taxes for funding facilities and other things? And the argument was made that it was needed. Because of the buildings were falling apart. That was part of the sales pitch for it. Where is it? That's it for me tonight. I may or may not get reappointed. We will see. So Jamie, you may or may not get appointed. We'll see. But
No, he didn't mean it.
So,
I'd
Tom,
like
you
to
do need get
second
the last
Rick's
word, huh?
comment.
Okay.
That last year, it was so obvious that at least 2 of the city council did not know diddly about the NCIP program. Reggie was new. You knew more about it, Reggie, than the people on the city council. And it was laborious to watch the voting on it. And like on the project on the underneath the Highway 1 overpass, that was excruciating to watch that debate and that argument. I mean, you were there. I mean, it was very
The
frustrating.
council has come up to speed as fast as they can. Whenever you have new people coming in, there's a learning curve on all aspects, and it's not just NCIP, it's other things as well. So, and just so everyone knows, I offered and had meetings with new council members to help fill them in on how the process works.
It was obvious
the
to me
rest
that they had not done their homework.
The challenge is when you have the perfect example of the challenge is putting the projects on hold and not saying anything. You have competing things being brought by competing people with competing interests. So I'll leave it at that. Okay. Nothing, seeing none, meeting adjourned.